Warrior Lore. Chapter 2602. As soon as the blood-colored battle axe appeared, a hazy blood-colored mist spread out from Emolingzi's blood demon true body. At the same time, a fiendish aura spread out from the ground and quickly rose up. It passed through the thick clouds and completely enveloped the battlefield and the sky. In just a split second, Du Xiaoyao, who was fighting fiercely with Moksha's great demon true body, felt her heart tremble fiercely. This might seem even more terrifying than Moksha, who was fighting with her in the holy war. The sea of flames formed by Huolei Laozu weakened a little in the midst of the bloody mist. They burned and rubbed against each other, emitting sizzling sounds. You want to touch the foundation of my devil religion with just the two of you? You're far from enough. Emolingzi's blood demon true body stood there as his vast voice resounded in the sky, causing the space to buzz. He held the blood fiend battle axe in his hand and abruptly slashed down, directly chopping the void and into the sea of azure flames. Boom! A scalp-numbing sound reverberated, and the world trembled along with it. A terrifying crack was cut open in the void, like an abyss, so deep that one couldn't see the bottom. A bloody and fiendish aura swept out, spreading in every inch of the space. Such a spatial crack opened in front of the devil religion's camp, isolating the endless sea of flames and preventing it from causing harm to the people of the devil religion. Chi. 30% of the sea of flames formed by the fire lightning seed was extinguished in an instant, and its aura sharply decreased. The azure flames that were originally sweeping towards the several hundred Saint Realm experts of the devil religion were almost completely extinguished. Under the influence of the bloody aura, it could no longer pose a great threat to the people of the devil religion. Kikik, you guys are really overestimating yourselves. Do you really think that the means of my devil religion are so easy to deal with? On the other side, Moksha let out a strange laugh. Then, he waved a huge demonic palm and struck down at Du Xiaoyao. Rumble. The nine heavens shook, and the space shook. Terrifying demonic chi surged out like a tidal wave, gathering into stormy waves that slammed fiercely. In an instant, it reached Du Xiaoyao. Amidst the tumbling demon chi, the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods could be heard. A foul stench filled the air, causing one to feel nauseous and numb. Even the circulation of energy in one's body had almost stopped. Roar! Du Xiaoyao's redbone horse monkey roared as golden light gushed forth, piercing through all obstructions. Within this, little demon Du's feet stepped in the air, steadily descending. Then, he raised his hands into the sky, and with an extremely vast power, he collided with the great demon's palms. Bang! The attacks of both sides collided, and a terrifying collision erupted. Majestic energy whistled like a raging sea. Energy runes as small as mosquitoes exploded, dazzling like fireworks. It was incomparably beautiful. Swish! Du Xiaoyao's redbone horse monkey body was knocked back by the attack. The golden light around her body dissipated, and her body was sent flying for thousands of feet in the sky before coming to a stop. On the other side, Moksha's great demon body did not seem to have suffered much of an impact. He still stood upright in his original position, exuding a torrential demon chi. The great devil body and the blood devil true body are both secret techniques of the devil religion. The power of several hundred people is indeed extraordinary. Du Xiaoyao's eyes flashed with a golden light as he thought to himself. Previously, when he exchanged blows with Moksha, he did not seem to be at a disadvantage. It was only after this exchange that the terror of the great devil body was revealed. Even if he used his full strength, he wouldn't be able to shake it. Not only that, under Moksha's palm, he felt the energy within his body tremble and surge, receiving a certain amount of shock. Just as Moksha said, the reason why the two were evenly matched in the first exchange was because Moksha was just probing. Now, half of the many Saint Realm experts of the devil religion had already sent their power into Emolingzi's body to help him form the blood devil true body. Even so, Moksha had lost half of his support, yet he still displayed such powerful strength. It could be seen that the secret techniques of the devil religion were indeed extraordinary. Du Xiaoyao thought to himself. His eyes flickered with a golden light as he glanced at the situation on the battlefield. His heart couldn't help but sink a little. After receiving the power of the devil religion's people, Mo Lingzi became incomparably ferocious. He dashed left and right in the sea of fire formed by Huolei Laozu, wantonly coming and going. Under his interference, Huolei Laozu's attacks couldn't get close to the devil religion's people and cause them any harm. Such a situation indicated that his and Huolei Laozu's previous plan had failed. They couldn't attack the enemy's weak points to solve the current situation. Moreover, if the current situation continued to develop, he and Huolei Laozu wouldn't be a match for Moksha and Mo Lingzi at all. Then, the only thing left was to see if Du Xiaofu could defeat the 9 demon emperors under their joint attack and kill their way into the space portal behind the devil religion's people. Under the prying of Du Xiaoyao's primordial spirit, the battle between Du Xiaofu and the 9 demon emperors was in a white-hot state. It seemed that it would be difficult to determine the victor in a short period of time. Is this really the only way? Du Xiaoyao muttered, the arrogance in his heart suddenly rising. I don't believe that I can't deal with devil religion's thieves like you. Even if I can't kill you, I can still cut a bloody path out and enter the void corridor. Du Xiaoyao suddenly shouted. The red-bone horse monkey's body moved in the void and charged toward Moksha. Humph, I've already said that you're just overestimating yourselves. How dare you challenge hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion with just the 2 of you? You're just delusional. Moksha snorted coldly. He also moved and pounced toward Du Xiaoyao. Both sides were extremely fast. In an instant, they collided again and a terrifying battle broke out. At the same time, on the other side, Mo Lingzi wielded the Blood Fiend battle axe and slashed left and right at the Void Flame Sea. With every strike, the Void Flame Sea was split into pieces. The lightning snakes that were swimming in the Void Flame Sea were also slashed into pieces and scattered in the void. The devil religion's methods are indeed powerful, but the ancestor isn't to be trifled with. Huolei Laozu's voice rang in everyone's ears. He originally wanted to do as Du Xiaoyao said, and kill those people while the rest of the devil religion couldn't take care of him. However, the blood demon real body displayed by Mo Lingzi was not inferior to Moksha's great demon real body. When the 2 of them cooperated with each other, he and Du Xiaoyao were both restrained. Moreover, they were both at a disadvantage. For a moment, the situation on his side was not optimistic. Chapter 2603. The great battle above the 9 heavens was still ongoing. Du Xiaoyao's redbone horse monkey body moved across the void. Every time he struck, it would cause an intense storm, causing the void to tremble. However, Moksha's great demon body was even more ferocious. Every step he took with his towering body caused the void to shatter into pieces. The terrifying attacks shook Du Xiaoyao to the point of retreating repeatedly. He could only parry and had no strength to fight back. The superposition of several hundred Sage Realm experts was indeed extraordinary. However, Du Xiaoyao wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. Facing Moksha's swift and violent attacks, not only did he not shrink back, he became more and more courageous as he fought. On the other side, Mo Lingzi wielded the Blood Fiend battle axe and slashed horizontally and vertically. Huolei Laozu's sea of flames was extinguished one after another. Mo Lingzi's blood demon true body was filled with a fiendish aura that filled the void. When the fiendish aura collided with the green flames, it was burned and emitted sizzling sounds. However, even with Huolei Laozu's methods, it was difficult for him to do anything to Mo Lingzi. When the lightning and the flames struck the blood demon true body, it was directly corroded and couldn't cause any damage. The scene fell into a deadlock for a moment. Du Xiaoyao, Huolei Laozu, and Du Xiaofu, who was fighting fiercely with the 9 demon emperors, were unable to break out of their predicament and repel the people of the devil religion. Moreover, Du Xiaoyao and Huolei Laozu were still in a disadvantageous position and could be injured at any time. Du Xiaofu, how can you win against the 9 of us joining hands? I advise you to retreat. Before Lord Demon God fully recovers and gets rid of you, you can still fight for a few more days to live. The voices of the 4 demon emperors came out from the billowing energy waves with an insufferably arrogant aura. You're just trying to stall for time. You're not enough to make me retreat. Even if the demon god was here, Du Xiaofu, would still dare to fight him. Du Xiaofu said in a domineering tone. The thunderclouds below were still gathering, constantly flashing out lightning dragons that looked like mountain ridges. Thick bolts of lightning were wreaking havoc amidst the raging energy tide, bombarding the 9 demon emperors. Deafening explosions rang out unceasingly. The purple-robed figure stood high up in the sky, dodging the attacks of the 9 great demon emperors from time to time. Du Xiaofu didn't carry a powerful aura. However, when he gently lifted his hand and waved it, the rampaging lightning dragon was controlled and guided. It collided with the attacks of the 9 great demon emperors, making it difficult for them to even get close to him. Of course, it would be extremely difficult for Du Xiaofu to defeat them. After all, the strength of the 9 great demon emperors had long reached the sage perfection realm. When the 9 of them joined forces, even though he had the cultivation of a half-step heavenly saint, he still had to be serious. You're boasting shamelessly. I admit that you're really strong, but you're still far from enough to break through the blockade of the 9 of us and enter the void corridor. The 5 demon emperors said. The blood-red sickle in his hand had a deep luster, and it was fluctuating with an intense aura of death. Every time he slashed, the lightning dragon controlled by Du Xiaofu would dim, and its aura would weaken sharply. Humph, if I really wanted to enter the void corridor, the 9 of you wouldn't be able to stop me. Du Xiaofu lifted his palm slightly. Another lightning dragon roared as it moved and hurriedly rushed towards the 5 demon emperors. At the same time, he didn't stop moving. Under his control, lightning bolts, which were as thick as mountains, attacked the 9 great demon emperors one after another. During the interval of the fierce battle, he also projected the power of his primordial spirit to observe the situation of Miss Du and Huala Laozu outside. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but frown when he saw the situation. It seemed that it would be difficult to break the current situation. The situation of Du Xiaoyao and Huala Laozu was not optimistic. It was very difficult for them to break through the blockade of the devil religion and enter the void corridor, unless the people of the sacred demon palace and the Black Water River arrived. At that time, with the addition of a large number of fresh troops, it would be easier to deal with the devil religion. Moreover, at this time, those people should be arriving soon. Du Xiaofu thought to himself, but he was also thinking seriously, I can't wait for them. It had been a long time since the demonic god entered the space portal. If they wasted too much time here, the demonic god could easily get the item for recovery. Then, the situation would be even more unfavorable for the living beings in this world. Only by entering the void corridor earlier, even if they couldn't really stop the demonic god from getting the item, they could at least cause some trouble for him and delay him for a longer time. Du Xiaofu, do you still want to resist? Why don't you surrender? We'll let you die quickly, so that the demonic god won't have to deal with you personally. I'm afraid that it won't be easy for you to die then. The 7 demon emperors laughed sinisterly. So what if you're a half-step heavenly sage? After all, you're not a real heavenly sage. How can you break through the joint forces of the 9 of us? The great demon emperor said, his petite body moving in the void. His black claws, which were covered with scales, grabbed a lightning dragon fiercely. Then, he grabbed it a few more times and crushed it in the void, turning it into runes and dissipating. Humph, you can't stop me. Upon hearing this, Du Xiaofu snorted coldly. Suddenly, a terrible aura burst out from his body. Golden wings of rock, rise. Du Xiaofu shouted in a low voice. Then, a golden light shot up from behind him and turned into 2 wings that stretched out in the sky. Then, his body shook slightly. He used the Fuyao first move and disappeared from where he was standing. Oh, no. It's this strange space technique again. The 3 demon emperors shouted. With a wave of their palms, the energy storm in the sky was suppressed in an instant, and the sky became clear again. He looked back and glanced in the direction of the rest of the people from the devil religion. Sure enough, the purple-robed figure had appeared beside Moksha. Evil creature, how dare you be so fierce? Du Xiaofu's icy cold voice was transmitted over. In front of the eyes of the 9 great demon emperors, he had already ruthlessly slammed his palm forward and imprinted it on the great demon body that Emo Shah had transformed into. Rumble, in an instant, the sound of wind and thunder rang out. Endless electric light burst out from the palm and blasted Mokshah's body hundreds of miles away. At the same time, a terrible palm print covered it. Electric arcs flickered and green smoke rose in spirals. Puff! Moksha clutched his chest. An arrow of blood spurted out from his mouth, shattering the void. All of this happened extremely quickly. After Emo Shah's great devil body was sent flying, the 9 great devil emperors barely had enough time to move. They rushed towards Du Xiaofu's direction, wanting to continue to join forces to intercept him. Chapter 2604. The speed of the 9 demon emperors was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they had already rushed to Du Xiaofu's side, forming an encirclement, preparing to continue to work together to stall him. The great demon emperor took the lead. His scaly claws moved horizontally, carrying surging demon chi that corroded the void. The blood-red scythes of the 4 demon emperors fell with the aura of death. The 5 demon emperors used the demonic cloud heaven swallowing technique, which swept out in all directions and swallowed the heavens and the earth. The other 6 demon emperors also attacked at the same time. Their terrifying attacks fell, almost turning the void into a state of chaos. However, these successive attacks, which had the power to shatter everything, all fell on empty air in the end. They didn't even touch Du Xiaofu's body. This was because the purple-robed figure had suddenly disappeared from the spot when they had just closed in. In an instant, the 9 great demon emperors came to a realization. That brat must have used that strange spatial technique again. This move again. Quickly stop him. The 4 demon emperors shouted loudly and rushed forward. Without thinking, he turned the direction of the blood-red scythe in his hand and aimed it at the blood demon real body that Emo Lingzi had transformed into. At the same time, the other 8 demon emperors also turned around at the same time. Their figures pierced through the air and appeared beside Emo Lingzi in an instant. In the blink of an eye, when all the attacks fell on Du Xiaofu, the purple-robed youth raised his fist again. Tyrannical fist way. When these words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, a blazing purple-gold brilliance bloomed on his fist. Between heaven and earth, endless energy constantly gathered on it, condensing into a fist shadow that was as big as a house. It fiercely smashed down on Emo Lingzi's blood demon real body. Energy mysterious runes circulated, fluctuating with a vast aura. Unparalleled power entwined on it. Wherever it passed, the void was annihilated, and heaven and earth lost their color. Du Xiaofu, let me see how much strength you have in the half-step heavenly saint realm. Emo Lingzi's blood demon real body said in a calm and emotionless tone. However, the blood fiend battle axe in his hand was raised high. A terrifying aura gathered and chopped down. I really don't know where you get the confidence to challenge me. What's more, your speed is too slow. Du Xiaofu said softly. His fist was like a mad dragon leaving its lair, roaring crazily as it rushed out. Such a punch had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth, and it struck out without the slightest pause. Just as Emo Lingzi's blood fiend battle axe descended, it collided with this fist shadow. Boom! When the two collided, the blood fiend battle axe instantly shattered and turned into energy runes that filled the sky, forming a terrifying storm. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's fist shadow was unscathed, and its momentum was not affected much. It continued to move forward. This purple-gold fist shadow smashed apart Emo Lingzi's blood fiend battle axe, passing through the destructive energy storm. Like a hot knife through butter, it disregarded all obstacles and ruthlessly smashed into the chest of Emo Lingzi's blood demon true body. Boom! Another explosion rang out, and the powerful sound waves spread out, twisting the void into pieces. Creak! Creak! The sound of bones breaking rang out, and Emo Lingzi's chest directly caved in. The mighty blood demon true body swept through the air like a rolling mountain, causing a rumbling sound to ring out. Kill! At this moment, the 9 great demon emperors had already arrived. The 9 of them attacked at the same time, surrounding Du Xiaofu in the middle. 9 terrifying attacks broke through the 9 heavens, carrying a demonic energy storm that could annihilate everything. With the power to destroy everything, Du Xiaofu's figure was buried. However, when their attacks landed, each of their faces suddenly changed. At their level of cultivation, they were able to detect the slightest movement in an instant. He got away again. The 4 demon emperors said hatefully, and the roots of their teeth were itching. The moment the attacks landed, they had already sensed that Du Xiaofu's figure had disappeared from the encirclement. Needless to say, the current him must have appeared in another place. This kid's space technique is too strange. We must stop him. The great demon emperor said in a deep voice, his tone carrying an indescribable resentment. Without any hesitation, the 9 great demon emperors turned around again, heading in the other direction. Over there, Moksha, who had been sent flying, had already returned, and Du Xiaofu's target was still him. If I were you, I would hide far away. Since you dared to come back, then take another punch from me. Tyrannical fist. Du Xiaofu's light words fell, and he fiercely punched Moksha's great demon body. Boom! Moksha had only returned to the battlefield for a short while, and before he could see the current situation clearly, he was hit by another punch. The majestic body of the great demon was smashed, and it tumbled in the void, collapsing and shattering one space after another. His physical body burst open, and demon blood splattered everywhere. Du Xiaofu, if you have the guts, come and fight me fair and square. The 5 demon emperors roared and rushed forward. But what made them furious was that when the 9 great demon emperors rushed forward again, the purple-robed youth's figure disappeared again. Needless to say, this time, he must have gone to find trouble with Lingzi or the other people of the devil religion. Everyone looked back, and sure enough, Du Xiaofu was among the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion at this time. Damn it! The great demon emperor could no longer stay calm, and he cursed in a gloomy voice. Obviously, Du Xiaofu's purpose this time was to destroy the backbone of the devil religion. One must know that he now had the strength of a half-step heavenly saint, and the strength of those hundreds of people were all below the perfect saint realm. If they allowed Du Xiaofu to rush into the devil religion's formation, what was the difference between that and a tiger entering a flock of sheep? At that time, those saint realm experts would only be waiting to be slaughtered, and Du Xiaofu could rampage and kill. People of the devil religion actually know how to say the word fair and square. Are you worthy? Du Xiaofu snorted coldly, and then his eyes suddenly became extremely cold. He gently raised his hand and slowly clenched his 5 fingers in the direction of the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion. We can't let him have his way, the great demon emperor whispered to himself. His eyes, which were covered by demon chi, shot out an intense murderous aura. That petite body traversed the void, and the demon chi was like a dragon, following her like a shadow and swaying around her body. Facing Du Xiaofu, the 9 of them could only barely block him with their combined strength, and after using that strange space technique, he didn't dare to meet them head-on. Everyone could only be toyed with by him like monkeys, running around behind him, but they couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. How could the 9 great demon emperors not feel hatred in their hearts under such circumstances? How could they not know that Du Xiaofu wanted to use his elusive speed to defeat them one by one? As long as Moksha and Lingzi were defeated, the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion would be slaughtered. At that time, it would be impossible for the 9 of them to stop Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Hualezi. However, what made the 9 great demon emperors feel despair was that Du Xiaofu's strange spatial technique was something that they were completely unable to reach. The 9 of us will split into 3 groups. One group will deal with Du Xiaoyao, and the other group will deal with Hualezi. Let's make Du Xiaofu hesitate and not dare to be arrogant anymore. The 9 great demon emperors followed behind Du Xiaofu and headed toward the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion. During this time, the 7th demon emperor's primordial spirit fluctuated and said to the others. His idea was very simple. If the 9 of them chased after Du Xiaofu without letting go, they would only be in a passive situation. If they split up to deal with Du Xiaoyao and Hualezi, who were relatively weaker, Du Xiaofu would definitely rescue them. In this way, they could resolve the current passive situation. Absolutely not. Du Xiaoyao and Hualezi are not weak. They are not easy to deal with. We can't kill them in a short time. If the 9 of us split up, we will give Du Xiaofu a chance to defeat us one by one. The 8th Demon Emperor immediately spoke and rejected the 7th Demon Emperor's suggestion. The remaining 8 Demon Emperors nodded in unison, indicating that they agreed with the 8th Demon Emperor. However, before they could come up with a feasible countermeasure, the 9 great Demon Emperors were speechless. Because on the other side, as Du Xiaofu clenched his fist, a terrifying aura rose in the area above the 9 heavens. An indescribable charm filled the air as though the unique rhythm of heaven and earth had been magnified countless times. During this process, 3 words popped out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. However, they were like spring thunder that exploded in the sky. 8 flashes of lightning. As soon as the 4 words were uttered, the power of laws became dense. The patterns of the great Tao evolved and carried a natural rhythm. The sky above the 9 heavens changed color instantly. In the sea of lightning beneath everyone's feet, dark clouds rolled rapidly, producing streaks of lightning that shuttled back and forth. Then, under everyone's gaze, the terrifying bolts of lightning swept upward. There were so many of them that it was impossible to estimate. The countless bolts of lightning rose against the sky and gathered into a thick thunderbolt of unknown size. In an instant, it blasted into the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion. Boom! A terrifying sound reverberated. The void was shaken and collapsed one after another as though the world was about to be destroyed. The area where the hundreds of people of the devil religion were located was as though countless firecrackers were set off at the same time. The scene was simply boiling, and the sound of explosions didn't stop for a long time. Hundreds of figures were buried in the thunderbolts. At a glance, one's eyes were pierced by the thunderbolts and burned endlessly. A terrifying storm swept across, engulfing and killing, instantly turning this area into a terrifying land of peril. Even with the strength of the 9 great demon emperors, they could only stop abruptly in this place and didn't dare to step into it rashly. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The great demon emperor stood in the void and roared furiously. The other 8 demon emperors were also stunned as they watched this scene unfold in a daze. They couldn't stop it at all. Du Xiaofu's half-step, heavenly saint strength was actually this terrifying when he displayed the law of lightning. Chapter 2605. Under Du Xiaofu's mighty power of laws, hundreds of sage stage experts from the devil religion were annihilated by the power of thunder. One could imagine that there would be many experts who would die in this battle. Well done, boss. If you can take care of these scumbags from the devil religion alone, I'll be impressed by you in the future. You're not fighting alone today. Let me cheer for you. Take care of these scumbags for me. On the other side, Du Xiaoyao, who had regained the appearance of a golden-robed young man, shouted excitedly. However, the last sentence he said sounded like he was trying to kick up a fuss. In the beginning, he was at a disadvantage in the battle with Moksha. However, he did not expect his boss to turn the situation around immediately after he broke free from the encirclement of the 9 demon emperors. As for himself, he seemed to have nothing to do for a while. He could not help but stand aside with his arms crossed, watching the show calmly. Cheer for you, my ass. Are you stupid? Hurry up and enter the space portal. Du Xiaofu scolded. Then, he disappeared again and reappeared next to Du Xiaoyao. He gave him a merciless kick on his butt. Du Xiaofu did not show much mercy in this kick. The force he used was extremely strong, but it did not cause any harm to Du Xiaoyao. Fuck, what are you doing? Du Xiaoyao shouted. He was sent flying by Du Xiaofu's powerful kick. His body swept across the sky and flew toward the space portal. However, the moment Du Xiaoyao was sent flying, he understood Du Xiaofu's intention. Oh no! The 9 demon emperors also came to their senses and immediately realized this. After a moment of shock, they all calmed down and did not do anything to stop it. Ancestor, you and Xiaoyao go into the void corridor first. I'll come after you. Du Xiaofu said to Huole Laozu. All right, Let's go meet that demon god first. The sea of green flames above the ninth heaven suddenly shrank and quickly transformed into Huale Laozu's appearance. The moment he appeared, he did not even think before he directly followed behind Du Xiaoyao and entered the spatial door. When the devil religion's 9 devil emperors saw this scene, they didn't try to stop him again. This was because they knew that with Du Xiaofu glaring at them from the side, there was no way they could stop them. Moreover, the demonic lord had already entered the void corridor. Du Xiaoyao and Flames Park alone couldn't cause any trouble to the demonic lord. The greatest possibility was that the two of them had died at the hands of Lord Fiend Celestial. As long as Du Xiaofu didn't enter the void corridor personally, the 9 demon emperors wouldn't feel too nervous. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. While the onlookers were thinking, the hundreds of Saint Realm experts of the devil religion were constantly fluctuating and rubbing against each other. The electric radiance slowly dissipated, and the terrifying power was also gradually withdrawn. Then, the scene in the field fell into everyone's eyes. Amidst the flashes of residual electric arcs, there were about 300 disheveled figures that were revealed. All of them were covered in wounds, and their auras were weak. Many of them were holding their heads and howling miserably. However, most of them did not make much noise. It was obvious that they had fainted. Du Xiaofu, the devil religion will fight you to the death. Suddenly, the second demon emperor, the third demon emperor, and the others roared crazily. Their eyes emitted terrifying light as they stared at Du Xiaofu, who had retreated to the side. They couldn't wait to tear him into 8 pieces, eat his flesh, and drink his blood. They could see that there were only over 300 Saint Realm experts left alive in the battlefield. As for the remaining 100 to 200 people, they had all been turned into ashes by that terrifying bolt of lightning. Not even a trace of them was left behind. How could the 9 demon emperors not be furious with such an outcome? It should be known that the Saint Realm experts were the backbone of the devil religion. The loss this time was so great that it would be a terrible blow to the devil religion's future expansion. Most of the remaining people who were still alive were temporarily unable to fight. They would need a lot of time and elixirs to recover. All of this was caused by Du Xiaofu alone. What a joke. We are already in a situation where we will fight to the death. It's a pity that only 100 people died, Du Xiaofu said. He clicked his tongue and sighed. His tone was filled with regret. Du Xiaofu, when you fall into the hands of the devil religion, I will make you beg for death. I will pull out your soul and imprison it on the spirit-refining platform. You will be burned by the devil fire for eternity. The great demon emperor's voice became hoarse again. The devil chi that was wrapped around his petite body fluctuated violently. It was obvious that his heart was not calm at this time. The corners of the purple-robed youth's mouth curled up slightly as he looked at the expression of the purple-robed youth. His eyes narrowed. He seemed to be very happy. It was obvious that Du Xiaofu was very satisfied with the result of his attack at this time. However, such an expression was so hateful in the eyes of the 9 demon emperors. It made the hatred in their hearts surge and churn endlessly. Even the water of the 3 rivers and 5 lakes couldn't wash away the hatred in their hearts today. If they could capture him one day, they would make him suffer the most painful punishment in the world. They would make him beg for death. Hee, you want to kill me for a long time. So many years have passed, but you still can't do anything to me. Du Xiaofu chuckled. His eyes were fixed on the void portal in the distance. At this time, Du Xiaoyao and Huale Laozu's figures were approaching the void portal. The devil religion didn't stop them. Du Xiaofu could guess the reason for this. It was because they felt that Du Xiaoyao and Huale Zi's strength couldn't pose a big threat to the demon god. In fact, Du Xiaofu was also aware of this point. Therefore, he didn't intend to delay any longer. Du Xiaofu, let's fight. The 5 demon emperors shouted and dashed out directly. Vast demonic clouds gathered and spread out in the void. Do you think that I will play with you? Du Xiaofu said softly. Then, with a flash of golden light, he went to the void portal. When he used the first style of rising wind, he completely ignored the barriers of space and appeared directly in front of the portal. Damn it! The great demon emperor was flustered and exasperated. It was not the first time he cursed that day. He didn't expect that after Huolei Laozu and Du Xiaoyao left, Du Xiaofu didn't have any scruples. He didn't want to fight with them anymore. Instead, he went directly to the void portal. With the support of his space technique, even if the entire demonic sect attacked together, no one would be able to stop him. Chapter 2606. Old 7, Old 8, and Old 9, stay behind to treat the injured. The rest of you, follow me into the void corridor. Once their injuries have stabilized, they will meet up with us. Seeing Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Hua Lei Zi's figures disappear into the faint spatial ripples, the great demon emperor ordered in a deep voice. After he finished speaking, he led the other 5 demon emperors and rushed toward the void door without further delay. The 7th demon emperor, 8th demon emperor, and 9th demon emperor nodded at the same time. Then, they turned around and entered the hundreds of injured, Saint Realm experts of the devil religion to start treating them. On the other side, Moksha and Imo Lingzi also dragged their injured bodies and flew back. At this time, they had all recovered their original appearances. They had been beaten back to their original forms by Du Xiaofu. Moreover, their auras were much weaker, and their injuries were quite serious. However, because they had the support of the great demon body and the blood demon real body, their injuries were much lighter than the hundreds of other Saint Realm experts. They only needed to adjust their breathing slightly and swallow some elixirs to recover quickly. The 2 of them returned almost at the same time. After they looked at each other, they saw the shock in each other's eyes. A few years ago, with their cultivation, it could be said that they could crush Du Xiaofu. But now, the purple-robed young man had left them far behind. Even if the 2 of them used the devil religion's secret technique and had the support of hundreds of people, they still could not fight him head-on. It could be said that they were no longer on the same level as the purple-robed young man. The gap was like a natural moat and a chasm. What are you waiting for? Come and help. The 7th demon emperor glared at Moksha and Imo Lingzi and said angrily with strong dissatisfaction, "Yes, Sir Demon Emperor." Moksha and Imo Lingzi both shrunk their necks and went to the side respectfully to start treating those who were injured by Du Xiaofu's lightning law. Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Huolei Laozu broke through the devil religion's blockade and crashed into the spatial portal that was emitting faint ripples. The bodies of the 3 were like 3 boulders that were thrown into a calm lake, creating ripples one after another. Then, their figures disappeared from this space at the same time, as if they had entered another world. In the next instant, the scene that appeared before their eyes caused the 3 of them to be fiercely shocked. "This is," Du Xiaoyao muttered as she stood in the air. His eyes shone with golden light as he raised his head and looked ahead. His line of sight extended into the endless distance. In the void, there were many steps floating in the air. They were like warm jade, emitting a fluorescent light and rippling with a clear radiance. It was pleasing to the eye. These steps were spread out in the void, their horizontal width unknown. They went all the way up, leading to an unknown place, unable to see the heart. The only thing that could be seen was a strong light shining. At a glance, it was all hazy and shrouded the steps in the distance, making them look mysterious and majestic. This jade platform seemed to have existed since time immemorial, causing one to be curious as to what exactly was at the end of the platform. Was it an ancient palace, or the residence of a god? Or was it the end of this world? Or was it a shortcut to another world? This should be the void corridor that the demon emperor was talking about. Du Xiaofu softly muttered to himself, his eyes filled with an intense throbbing that could not be suppressed. Such a scene gave one a feeling of extreme grandeur. It was his first time seeing such a scene, and he could not help but be shocked. It can't be wrong. The end should be where the dark palace of the clouds is located. I just don't know what's there that could make the devil god pay so much attention to it. Huolei Laozu added, similarly unable to conceal the surprise in his eyes. He had only heard a little about the dark palace of the clouds because he had lived for a long time. As for the specific situation, he knew nothing about it. I don't see the devil god's figure. He should have gone up by now. Du Xiaoyao suddenly looked at the end of the void corridor and said, "Perhaps he has already entered the dark palace of the clouds." Du Xiaofu said with a solemn tone, The end of the steps was completely enveloped by strong light, making it impossible to see the scene at the top. The devil god had either left their line of sight, or he had already entered the dark palace of the clouds. Let's go quickly. Regardless of whether we can stop the devil god from recovering, we must at least give him some trouble. We can't let him get the recovery item so easily, Huolei Laozu said. After saying that, he leaped up and rushed to the first step. I can tell at a glance that this void corridor is extraordinary. I don't think it's that easy to climb up. Let's slow down a little. We must be careful. Du Xiaofu reminded them and followed closely behind Huolei Laozu. No matter how strange it is, it won't be a problem for me, Du Xiaoyao said proudly. Then, without further delay, she rushed up at the same time. However, just as the three of them stepped onto the first step, they suddenly felt a strange force crushing down on their primordial spirits. Even if they used their celestial qi to resist, they could not eliminate it. The only thing they could do was to use the strength of their primordial spirits to resist it. The three of them looked at each other and knew that the other party was also under the same pressure. What a strong pressure, but it's very weak. I can easily withstand it, Du Xiaoyao said softly and looked at Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu. The two of them nodded in agreement. They realized that although the crushing force was pervasive, it was too weak compared to the strength of the three of them. Even if they did not use their strength to resist it, it would not cause any harm to them. This situation made the three of them heave a sigh of relief. Continue. Du Xiaofu spoke and once again leaped up, stepping onto the second step. Just as his foot landed on the ground, his expression abruptly changed. Behind him, Huolei Laozu and Du Xiaoyao followed closely behind. The pressure has increased. Huolei Laozu stared into the distance and said solemnly, "Let me try again." Du Xiaoyao crossed the distance and quickly rushed to the third step. Then, a serious look appeared on his handsome face. It's really like that. Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu followed closely behind. After looking at each other for a while, they had the same thought in their minds. Ever since we stepped onto the first step, there has been a pressure on our primordial spirits. On the second and third steps, the pressure has increased. According to this, as we move forward, the pressure we have to endure will increase, Huolei Laozu said in a low voice. Chapter 2607. That's right. There was no end to this void corridor, and it was unknown how many steps there were. In the beginning, this kind of pressure was insignificant to us, and we could easily withstand it. If we reach the end, the pressure will become incomparably great. I don't know if we will be able to reach the end, Du Xiaofu said as he looked into the distance. There was no sign of the demon god there. Needless to say, he must have gone far away by now. The three of them had just stepped into this place. The higher they went, the greater the pressure they would feel. If that was the case, it would be extremely difficult to catch up with the god fiend. Look behind us. The great demonic emperor and the others have also entered. Suddenly, Du Xiaoyao turned around and said. In fact, there was no need for his reminder. Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu's primordial spirit power had also sensed the fluctuations on the other side. When he turned around, he saw the first demon monarch, the second demon monarch, and the other 5 demon monarchs coming out of the spatial gate. Du Xiaofu, let's fight again if you dare. The 6 demon monarchs shouted the moment they arrived. You want to stop us with just the 6 of you? Before Du Xiaofu could reply, Du Xiaoyao spoke up in disdain. The devil religion has suffered a great loss this time. Over 1,000 of you stopped us outside the spatial portal, but you didn't expect to lose so many Saint Realm experts. You must be unwilling to accept this, right? Huolei Laozu also said with a smile. When he thought of Du Xiaofu's attack outside, he felt an indescribable joy in his heart. Boss, I think we should deal with the 6 demon emperors first before we look for the demon god. Du Xiaoyao's eyes were filled with murderous intent as she stared at the 6 demon emperors. As soon as these words were spoken, the 6 demon emperors, including the great demon emperor, stopped in their tracks and didn't dare to move forward. The fluctuations of demon qi around their bodies were clearly fearful. Outside, there were so many demonic sect experts, but none of them were able to stop the 3 of them. Just Du Xiaofu alone could fight 9 demon emperors without being at a disadvantage. At this moment, there were only 6 of them here. They had no chance of winning against Du Xiaofu and the other 2. If they were to fight them, it was very likely that all of them would die here. No, finding the demon god is more important. We will have a chance to deal with the 9 demon emperors in the future, Du Xiaofu said after weighing the pros and cons in his heart. If they attacked the demon emperors Lucas and the emperor, they could kill the 6 demon monarchs Yang and the demon monarch. Moreover, the demon emperors is Laozus if Laozus was's, they Laoji, S's 2's Luin this way do demon gods his, is 2 is. At that time, the god fiend would have a greater chance of obtaining the item of recovery. The living beings the S of demon living A2, let's go. With a wave of his sleeve, Du Xiaofu turned around with Du Xiaoyao and Master Huolei. They quickly made their way up the corridor. This void corridor is strange. We can only step on one step at a time. We can't directly cross a step. Du Xiaofu said to Huolei and Du Xiaoyao. As they moved forward, they realized that every step they took had to be on the next step. They couldn't directly cross through the air. Otherwise, they would be obstructed by an invisible force, which would prevent them from moving forward. Then let's step up one step at a time, Huolei Laozu said. This time, they didn't explore slowly. Instead, they moved forward at their fastest speed. They were like 3 streaks of lightning, leaving behind afterimages. Even if every step they took had to be on the ground, their speed was still extremely fast for them. The trio's feet were like fiery wheels as they continuously stood on top of the stairs. Behind them, the 6 demon emperors also moved. They followed Du Xiaofu and the others at a distance. Just as Du Xiaofu and the others had sensed earlier, the higher they went, the greater the pressure on their primordial spirits. In the beginning, this pressure might be very insignificant compared to their cultivations. However, after an unknown period of time, even Du Xiaoyao and Huolei had to treat it seriously. We've only walked for a short distance, but this pressure is already affecting my strength. As they rushed forward, Du Xiaoyao's voice rang out in the void corridor, reaching Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu's ears. That's true. Although it's only affecting our strength by a little, less than 10%, if we continue forward, it'll affect us by 10%, 20%, or even more. Huolei Laozu said, frowning. If it affects us too much, it'll be even more disadvantageous for us when we face the demon god in the end. Du Xiaofu also said, but he didn't stop. He continued to step on the steps. There's no time to think so much. Let's find the demon god first. After saying that, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but turn around and look behind him. He saw that the 6 demon emperors were still following closely behind him, maintaining a certain distance. Obviously, they didn't want to let Du Xiaofu reach the void corridor safely. At the same time, they were worried about his strength, so they just stayed behind, waiting for an opportunity to attack. You're haunting us. Du Xiaoyao muttered a curse and raised her eyebrows. Don't worry about them. Let's go, Du Xiaofu said, and he couldn't help but speed up. Du Xiaoyao and Huolei Laozu didn't want to be left behind, and they followed him. Boss, let's have a competition to see who can reach the end of the void corridor faster, Du Xiaoyao suddenly said, his eyes shining with golden light. How? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked. If you lose, you'll have to give me back the position of boss, Du Xiaoyao said with a solemn and serious expression. Ho ho, don't even think about the position of boss. You'll be the eternal number 2. Ha ha ha. Du Xiaofu couldn't help bursting into laughter as he said that. This guy had been calling him boss nonstop recently. It turned out that he was still unconvinced and wanted to take back the position of boss. With regards to this matter, how could Du Xiaofu let him have his way? A light flashed on the soles of his feet, and the power of thunder and lightning appeared. His speed suddenly increased, and he left Du Xiaoyao behind in the blink of an eye. Bah, I'm not convinced. Du Xiaofu, who are you calling the eternal number 2? Du Xiaoyao was furious. Golden light burst out from his body, and he flew up to catch up. The 2 of them were extremely fast, and soon only 2 shadows were left behind. It's so good to be young. I also want to be young again, Huolei Laozu said with a chuckle. Under the disturbance of the 2 young people, he couldn't help but feel happy. The huge pressure brought about by the demon god, which had shrouded his heart, also dissipated a little. The great tribulation has arrived. I don't know if I can survive it this time. In that case, let me be young again. Wait for me. Huole Laozu suddenly burst into laughter. Then, the power of thunder and lightning and the power of fire intertwined, and his speed increased sharply. He rushed in the direction of Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, and quickly disappeared into the distance. Seeing this, the 6 demon emperors behind looked at each other in dismay. What's going on? The 6 demon emperors were dumbfounded. They were baffled by the actions of those 3. Let's go. The great demon emperor didn't say anything more. He just ordered the others in a gloomy voice. Under his urging, the 2nd demon emperor, the 3rd demon emperor, the 4th demon emperor, the 5th demon emperor, and the 6th demon emperor didn't say anything more. They each increased their speed to the maximum and rushed forward. The pressure is getting greater and greater. After a long time, Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Huole Laozu had gone a long way. The 3 of them turned around and looked behind them, only to see that the stairs at the bottom had already disappeared from their sight. However, the 6 demon emperors still followed them. In this position, the 3 of them all felt the pressure on their primordial spirits was extremely great. Even with the strength of Du Xiaoyao and Huole Laozu, they felt a great impact. With such pressure, I'm afraid that if someone below the Saint Realm came here, his divine soul would be directly crushed. Huole Laozu said as he felt the all-pervasive pressure on his primordial spirit. That's right. It's very difficult for an ordinary Saint Realm expert to withstand this pressure. If you want to continue moving forward, I'm afraid you'll need a great deal of willpower. Moreover, you'll have to rely on your powerful physical strength to continue moving forward, Du Xiaofu said. Even with his current cultivation, he felt that his strength was affected to a certain extent. If it were an ordinary person who had just entered the Saint Realm, it would be considered good if he could exert 10% of his strength here. When is the end of this void corridor? Du Xiaoyao said gloomily as she raised her head and looked ahead. There, a flight of steps was suspended in the air, and the end couldn't be seen. However, at the extreme point, a dazzling light shrouded the scene ahead like clouds and fog. No one knew what kind of existence it was. This kind of situation made people feel extremely tired. It was like climbing a mountain. One had already reached the point of exhaustion, but still couldn't see the scenery at the top of the mountain. It's getting closer and closer, Huole Laozu said softly. Ignoring Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, he took the lead and stepped onto the next step. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao didn't say anything else and stepped out respectively. As they continued to move forward, the steps passed under their feet. Time passed slowly. The 3 of them realized that they were not too far away from the cloud-like place. Surrounded by clouds and fog, could that be the dark tower in the clouds? Du Xiaofu guessed secretly. Not only him, but Huole Laozu and Du Xiaoyao also had the same guess. Du Xiaofu, let's continue competing. Du Xiaoyao suddenly gave him a provocative look. You're always number 2. Du Xiaofu stared at Du Xiaoyao and said with a chuckle, Scram. Whoever enters the cloud-like place first will be number 1. Du Xiaoyao said angrily, You're always number 2. Du Xiaofu said calmly, I'll definitely take back the number 1 position today. Du Xiaoyao shouted, her eyes fierce. You're always number 2. Du Xiaofu said. Chapter 2608. Damn it. Can you not mention that? Du Xiaofu kept calling him number 2, which made Du Xiaoyao really anxious. She couldn't help but curse. Sure, then I'll change it. Du Xiaofu's expression was incomparably calm as he continued. You will always be my number 2. Fuck. Du Xiaoyao was about to go berserk and no longer continued to bicker with Du Xiaofu. Instead, with a dark face, he lowered his head and walked forward. Du Xiaofu smiled and didn't say anything. Time continued to pass, making it hard for them to remember how much time had passed and how many steps they had walked. Although the long void corridor was dazzling and beautiful, and the scene was shocking, no matter how much one yearned for it, if it was just a monotonous color and seemed to be very difficult to see the end, it would make one feel bored and tired. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu and the other two continued to move forward, and they were nearing the location of the clouds they saw below. This place was completely shrouded in mist. Under the reflection of the light emitted from the steps, it was suffused with a hazy radiance and was incomparably magnificent. I wonder if the celestial palace in the clouds is behind these clouds. Du Xiaoyao stopped and stood on the steps as she said softly. Beneath their feet, the void corridor was still extending all the way into the clouds. They couldn't see the specific situation inside. Maybe it's not that simple. I have a feeling that something unusual is going to happen later. Huolei Laozu landed beside Du Xiaofu and frowned. The pressure here is already extremely strong. If we enter the clouds again, we don't know what will happen. Let's be careful. Du Xiaofu warned Huolei Laozu and Du Xiaoyao. He instinctively felt an unusual aura. In the place where they were, the omnipresent pressure in the void was incomparably terrifying. Even with the strength of Du Xiaoyao and Huolei Laozu, they could feel their spirits trembling. Fortunately, the three of them had profound cultivation. If an ordinary initial stage Sage Realm cultivator had stepped onto the void corridor, they wouldn't have reached this place at all. Under such pressure, they would have been scared out of their wits and even their souls would have been scattered. Needless to say, after entering the clouds, there would definitely be unexpected things that would happen. We still haven't seen the demon god. Du Xiaoyao looked ahead and said softly, "The 6 demon emperors are following us." Fire Thunder Ancestor looked down the stairs. When he saw the 6 demon emperors, he asked, "That's not slow." Du Xiaofu said expressionlessly. He wasn't too surprised by this. The 9 demon emperors were not weak. Even the weakest one had a strength that was infinitely close to the accomplished stage of the Sage Realm. Moreover, his strength had been damaged. Needless to say, the 6 demon emperors were following behind him. The pressure in the void corridor might affect them, but it wouldn't cause them too much trouble. Don't care about them. Let's go. Du Xiaofu Laozu said. Step by step, he rushed up and crashed into the clouds. Huolei Laozu and Du Xiaoyao also moved at the same time. Their figures disappeared in the vast clouds one after another. However, the moment they entered the void corridor, they encountered a situation that caught them unprepared. "Big brother, where are you?" After entering, Du Xiaoyao Laozu tried to open her eyes wide and scan the surroundings. However, all she saw was a misty white scene. Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu were nowhere to be seen. Her vision could only cover a distance of 3 meters at most. The stairs under her feet had also disappeared. Only the flat ground was left. It was as if she had suddenly entered another world. Even the red-bone horse monkey's powerful primordial spirit was blocked by the clouds and was confined to this small area. After Du Xiaoyao Laozu shouted, she did not hear any response from Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu for a long time. She finally realized that she had entered a strange place and was separated from Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu. What was even more strange was that even if she retreated, she could not walk out of the clouds and return to the stairs outside. It seemed that she could only rely on herself if she wanted to leave this place. My cultivation is being suppressed. Just as Du Xiaoyao was about to find a way out, she was shocked to find that her strength had been suppressed and reduced by half. Moreover, the powerful pressure that was suppressing his soul had yet to disperse, causing him to feel extremely pressured. What a strange place, but it's not enough to trap me. Du Xiaoyao's eyes focused and shot out 2 beams of golden light. His body also shone with light. Roar. After letting out a roar that shook the heavens and earth, his human form changed and transformed into a red-bone horse monkey. A vast golden light shot out, illuminating the surrounding clouds and mist with a golden hue. After returning to his original form, it was much easier for him to resist the pervasive pressure. The gigantic body of the red-bone horse monkey took a step forward. As it stepped on the ground, it emitted a loud rumble. After a few steps, it disappeared into the clouds that covered the sky. The same thing happened to Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu. When they stepped into the clouds and mist, the other 2 disappeared as well. My strength has been suppressed by half. Du Xiaofu's body did not emit the slightest fluctuation of aura, but he was able to resist the pressure in this place. He was originally at the half-step heavenly saint realm. After his strength was suppressed, he still had the cultivation of the peak of the consummate saint realm. Moreover, he was not an ordinary peak of the consummate saint realm. With the support of the law brand in his soul, even if the pressure was twice as strong, it would not affect him. I can't tell the direction. I can only rely on my instincts to move forward. He tried to fly up into the sky, but he could not escape from the sea of mist. It was better to walk on the ground. I wonder how the ancestor and little Yao are doing. Du Xiaofu was a little worried about Du Xiaoyao and Huolei Laozu. The 6 great demon emperors of the devil religion must have entered this place by now. If they encountered experts like the great demon emperor or the second demon emperor when their cultivation was under pressure, they would be in big trouble. Moreover, the demon god had also entered this place. If they encountered the demon god, the consequences would be unimaginable. I hope they don't encounter each other, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He did not know whether they would have the opportunity to meet each other in this space. He hoped that he could encounter the several demon emperors. Even if he encountered the demon god, he had some methods to deal with him. With some worry in his heart, Du Xiaofu soared into the sky. He randomly chose a direction, and his figure rushed out. As Du Xiaofu continued to move forward, he passed through the clouds and mist. This space gave him the feeling of a sea of mist. He could not see anything clearly, and he had not encountered anything strange. It was extremely monotonous and strange. This situation lasted for a long time, so long that Du Xiaofu himself could not remember exactly how long it had taken. At some point in time, Du Xiaofu, who was running at a high speed, suddenly froze on the spot. Someone is here. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. The power of his primordial spirit found that there was a movement of a living creature which had just brushed past him. However, due to the obstruction of the sea of mist, he could not see who it was at all. Without much hesitation, Du Xiaofu turned around and quickly walked in that direction. When Du Xiaofu was 3 meters away from that person, the other party stood there motionlessly, as if he had already noticed his arrival and was waiting for him here. Du Xiaofu, I didn't expect you to come so soon. A loud voice slowly sounded. He seemed to be very calm, as if he had already noticed Du Xiaofu's existence. When this voice fell, that person's figure also appeared in Du Xiaofu's line of sight. It was an extremely tall figure. Just by standing there, it gave people the feeling of a mountain standing still and a pavilion in the abyss. It was so powerful that it could hold up the sky. At the same time, a powerful aura was emitted from his body. Even in this suppressed area, it was difficult to stop his aura from spreading. His body clearly did not actively emit a powerful fluctuation, but it made people know how powerful he was at a glance. That mountain-like body caused one's heart to tremble at the sight of it. Demon God. After Du Xiaofu's expression changed, it suddenly became solemn. He had long been mentally prepared that he might meet the demon god, or the 6 great demon emperors here. However, he also knew that the probability of this was very small. It could be said that it was an extremely slim possibility. At this moment, this idea really happened. At the same time, it made him solemn and serious. After a buzzing sound, the purple gold heavenly tower appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand. A vast aura rose from his body, and purple gold lightning lingered around him. The cyan spirit armor was also summoned immediately, covering his body. Looking at the demon god, Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with deep hostility. He displayed his powerful means one by one, facing the demon god seriously. Although he also noticed that the god fiend had yet to recover, he did not dare to let his guard down. You're not slow. You caught up with me so quickly. The demon god spoke. His mountain-like body moved horizontally, and he turned his head to look at Du Xiaofu. When he spoke, his voice rumbled out like thunder in spring. It carried a fierce majesty, and it shook the fog sea violently. What's there to talk about between us? Let's fight. Du Xiaofu suddenly shouted, and his face became ferocious. For him, he would definitely fight to the death with the demon god. There was no room for negotiation. The purple gold heavenly tower in his hand rose into the air. In the blink of an eye, it condensed into a sword light that penetrated the heavens and the earth and slashed at the demon god. Roar, the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise rushed out in an instant. They occupied the void and let out terrifying roars. The majesty of the strongest creatures pervaded the air, invading every inch of space. Streaks of lightning flowed on the broadsword, making crackling sounds. Chapter 2609. A tyrannical pressure spread out and engulfed the demon god's body. For illusory beasts rushed out one after another. They seemed to have come from the primordial era, carrying with them a terrifying power that could shatter the 9 heavens. Your great name can be said to reverberate like thunder in my ears. You've already reached the cultivation of a half-step, heavenly saint at such a young age. As expected of the person chosen by Lu Xiaoyu, you're indeed extraordinary. Faced with Du Xiaofu's thunderous sword, the demon god said indifferently, "Furthermore, I can sense a familiar aura from your body. You must be the descendant of the heavenly Tao from the primordial era. If that's the case, even if we disregard other reasons, the enmity between us is equally deep." As the demon god spoke, he raised a huge palm. It looked like it was reaching out slowly, but in reality, it was extremely fast. In an instant, it reached for the sky and grabbed Du Xiaofu's vast sword light. This palm was like a part of the world. It reached into the fog and stirred up the sea of fog violently. Although your strength is not bad, it's far from enough in front of me. With your strength, you can't stop the rise of the devil religion. Even if Lu Xiaoyu and Long Xin come again, without the help of the heavenly Tao, they can't do anything to me. This world will eventually become a devil's domain. His voice was so loud that it sounded like a thunderclap, exploding in the void. At the same time, the demon god's palm also grabbed Du Xiaofu's sword light. Chi, a sound like hot iron being splashed with cold water rang out. Du Xiaofu's sword light was immediately caught in the demon god's hand. Under the infusion of vast and unparalleled power, the demon god's palm suddenly clenched. Bang! A huge explosion resounded, and the incomparably terrifying sword light was directly crushed in the void. The shattered energy whistled and danced, wreaking havoc between heaven and earth. It blew away the surrounding fog for dozens of miles, revealing a pitch-black land that was completely lifeless. The densely packed talisman markings were like tiny mosquitoes, dancing in the mist, dense and dazzling. Swish, in the void, the 4 phantoms of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise dissipated in an instant. Du Xiaofu's figure was sent flying dozens of miles away, to the edge of the fog. The profound qi in his body circulated rapidly before he stabilized his body and stopped in the air. What powerful strength! Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes, feeling a deep sense of dread towards the strength of the demon god. Against the fiend celestial, it could be said that he had gone all out with that strike. He did not hold back at all. Although his cultivation had been suppressed, and he could only unleash half of his strength, the god-fiend had still easily neutralized such an attack. It was clear how ferocious it was. It should be noted that in this area, the cultivation of the demon gods would definitely be suppressed. If Du Xiaofu's guess was correct, the demon god had also lost half of his strength. One could imagine that if they were in the outside world, he would be greatly shaken by this strike. And this was still under the condition that the demon god had not fully recovered. Furthermore, it could be seen that the demon god had not used his full strength in the strike just now. Du Xiaofu could not help but feel the pressure in his heart. The demon god was indeed more terrifying than he had imagined. His strength is indeed extraordinary. The demon god withdrew his palm, and the terrifying fluctuations gradually subsided. The surrounding fog that had retreated also slowly retreated. Even if we were in the outside world, I would not be afraid of you. And in this area where I am suppressed, all the more I will not cower. Let me have a good look at how terrifying the demon god's strength is. Du Xiaofu said with a frown, and his tone was extremely fearless. His figure once again soared into the sky, and along with the shrinking fog, he pounced towards the demon god's direction. In his heart, although he was fearful of the demon god, Du Xiaofu also knew that the demon god was also suppressed here, and his strength had not fully recovered. It could be said that he had been weakened twice. In this way, the difference in strength between them had actually shrunk by quite a bit. Speaking of which, even if his strength was suppressed by the demon god and his life was in danger, Du Xiaofu still had the means to protect his life, and he could fight the demon god head-on. It was also because of this that he dared to go against the demon god and fight him. Du Xiaofu had his own thoughts and plans. He wanted to use this opportunity to test the demon god's true strength. If he did not have any strength to fight back before the demon god had fully recovered, then the situation he would face in the future would be even worse. I said before, I am not afraid of Lu Xiaoyu and Long Xian, let alone you. The demon god said loudly, and his demonic body moved, and his voice shook the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Void 8 trigrams rise. Du Xiaofu leaped into the sky, and the purple-gold heavenly tower hung upside down above his head. His 10 fingers kept flipping, and obscure hand seals were formed one after another. Then, bright rays of light flew out from his rapidly revolving fingers. Swoosh! In the void, a tyrannical pressure suddenly rose, and it increased on top of the original pressure, becoming even more terrifying. Above Du Xiaofu's head, a huge Void 8 trigrams pattern appeared, and it kept spinning. At the same time, mountains, rivers, and lakes appeared under his feet. It was so real, and it made him look like a god who had descended into the mortal world. Thunder martial vein. Open, Du Xiaofu shouted again, his purple robes fluttering, and his black hair dancing wildly. As he shouted, the surface of his body lit up with bright lightning, like veins, and wound around his sturdy body. The lightning was like a bloodline pattern, and it was engraved on his body, as if it was covering a net. Chi-la-la, under Du Xiaofu's control, the lightning net suddenly flew up. As soon as it flew out, it expanded against the wind, and directly rushed towards the 8 trigrams pattern above Du Xiaofu's head. During this process, the lightning net continued to expand, becoming incomparably thick, and merged with the 8 trigrams in the void. In the next moment, the pressure emitted from the void increased by 30%. The void 8 trigrams, the giant lightning net, the mountains, rivers, and lakes. The 3 of them complemented each other, releasing the aura of gods and demons. Boom! A huge bolt of lightning that was countless miles thick suddenly blasted down, rushed out from the 8 trigrams in the void, and struck the mountains, rivers, and lakes under Du Xiaofu's feet. Qi, the heavenly thunder triggered the earth fire, and a terrifying thunder fire appeared under Du Xiaofu's feet. It burned above the mountains, rivers, and lakes, and bloomed with monstrous flames. The aura on Du Xiaofu's body rose rapidly, and he swore to fight the demon god to the end. You have some skills, but compared to what Lu Xiaoyu used, you are still far from it. The moment Du Xiaofu used this move, the demon god saw that this was the method that Lu Xiaoyu left in this world, and it was obtained by the purple-robed young man in front of him. However, his tone was extremely disdainful of Du Xiaofu, as if such a method was not worthy of his attention at all. This was because his real enemies were existences like the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds and the Dragon God. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was still far away from that kind of realm. My devil religion will eventually control this world. When that time comes, even if Lu Xiaoyu and Long Xian come again, they can only bow down in front of me. In order to achieve all this, all obstacles must be eliminated. You are now the strongest person in this world, so let's start with you. As the demon god spoke, he moved. This time, he didn't extend his palm out in an ordinary manner like before. Chi chi chi. With a series of chi chi sounds, clouds of demonic chi were released from the mountain-like body. It was like a raging tide in a raging sea, surging and mighty. When such demonic chi appeared, a terrifying bloody and fiendish aura immediately filled the air. When the surrounding fog came into contact with the demonic chi, it kept making sizzling sounds and was quickly corroded. The space was occupied by the demonic chi. Ao ao, woo woo, the bloody and fiendish aura fluctuated, and the demonic chi transformed. Around the demon god's body, Mountains of corpses appeared. Seas of blood surged. Demons were slaughtering. Living beings were crying, and remnant souls were howling. The heavens and earth were crying blood and mourning. Under such a scene, just the fluctuations that the demon god unintentionally emitted into the void caused the sky to shatter and the earth to crack. At this moment, the figure of the demon god, just by looking at it, gave people a terrifying feeling for no reason, causing their hearts to palpitate and tremble for no reason. As he gently twisted his body, the void rumbled as if the heavens and earth were about to shatter. Heavenly thunder, absolute destruction. Kill. Du Xiaofu shouted loudly. As his hand seals changed, a huge thunderbolt suddenly struck out from the 8 trigrams in the void. It was even larger than the body of the demon god. It was like a thick beam of light that slammed down from the 9 heavens. Its momentum was fierce, and it destroyed everything in its path. Boom! The thunderbolt struck down and fiercely bombarded the demonic chi outside the demon god's body. The terrifying vibration did not stop for a long time, causing people's eardrums to be dizzy. It did not stop for a long time. Under this blow, a huge gap was blasted open in the surging demonic chi like a tide. The mountain of corpses collapsed, the sea of blood exploded, and resentful spirits and remnant souls flew everywhere. Ayo! The cries of the ghosts spread in this area. It was miserable and sharp, and it wanted to penetrate people's souls. It was as if countless ants and insects were gnawing in the mind. These resentful spirits burst open in the void, exploding into clouds of demonic chi, and then returned to the demon god's body. The demon god's body took 3 steps back. Every time the huge soles of his feet landed, a bottomless pit was created in the ground. The demonic flames ignited the soil and burned it to ashes. Chapter 26-22. With a wave of Du Xiaofu's hand, the laws of thunder and lightning surged out. In the air, bolts of lightning as thick as mountains fell down from the highest heavens. They were like rivers that hung down from the heavens, like a curtain of lightning that flooded the entire space. Below the thunderbolts, the 3 demon emperors sat on the ground, paralyzed. The demon god power in his body had been exhausted, and he had lost more than half of his original strength. His demonic body was riddled with scars. His flesh was scorched and withered, crisscrossing and twisting. He raised his head to look at the sky and watched the boundless thunderbolts descend. His demonic eyes dimmed and were filled with endless despair. "My life is over," the 3 demon emperor murmured. He could not hide the shock in his eyes. Du Xiaofu's strength was too terrifying. Only a few years had passed, and the purple-robed young man had grown to such a level. It was almost unbeknownst to him. Even though the 3 demon emperors had been strengthened by the demon god's dawn stone, their cultivation had been greatly enhanced, and their strength was infinitely close to that of a half-step heavenly saint. At this moment, a sense of disappointment rose in the 3 demon emperors' hearts. If I had known that Du Xiaofu would become a great enemy of our devil religion, I would have killed you in the cradle, no matter what price I had to pay. The 3 demon emperors couldn't help but sigh with emotion. They hated the fact that the 9 demon emperors had underestimated this human. Unfortunately, time waited for no man. It was meaningless to think about this now. Now, it seemed that there was no other way out except for waiting for death. Everything was confined by the terrifying pressure. It was difficult for him to escape with his primordial spirit. The 3 demon emperors sighed in their hearts. Their minds were racing. In the blink of an eye, an idea flashed across their minds. Subsequently, a resolute glint suddenly flashed in his somewhat dim eyes. There was a resolute look in his eyes, as though he had made some kind of decision. Boom, boom, boom. The thunderbolts in the sky roared crazily and reached the top of the 3 demon emperors' heads in an instant. The ferocious and overbearing aura assaulted Xi's face like a sharp blade, and it shook space to the point of shattering. At this moment, the 3 demon emperors, who had been sitting on the ground, suddenly stood up. Du Xiaofu, if you want me to die, you have to pay a sufficient price. The three demon emperors opened his arms and roared to the sky as if he was welcoming the violent thunderbolts. During this process, his body suddenly swelled up, and a blood-red color filled his entire eyes. Boundless ferocious aura was emitted, and it surged out. Along with his movements, a terrifying aura chi editor, Chua Xiao. The demon god chi editor, Chua Su. The demon chi editor, demons. You want to self-explode? Du Xiaofu's eyes wide. Was the chi Du was chi of? He could feel that the self-detonation of the three demon emperors was not ordinary. They must have activated some kind of secret technique to greatly increase their power. They wanted to counterattack before their deaths. Otherwise, with his cultivation, Du Xiaofu would not have sensed the dangerous chi editor, Chua Su. Retreat. In the distance, Fire Thunder Ancestor shouted. Then, without thinking, he reminded Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, Hunji, and Lu Limo to stay away. Then, he quickly retreated and hid far away. In fact, there was no need for him to remind them. The four of them had also sensed the terrible threat. They immediately retreated and entered the fog in the distance. I know I can't kill you, but I won't let you have an easy time. One day, Lord Godfiend will definitely avenge me. This world will eventually belong to the demon sect. Everyone will die, and no one will be able to stop Lord Demon God's footsteps. The three demon emperors shouted. Just as the thunderbolts were about to hit him, his body exploded with a bang. Loud rumbles echoed out unceasingly. Under the effect of the secret technique, the self-detonation of the three demon emperors was incomparably terrifying. The power of their bodies and primordial spirits was vast and mighty, and they rampaged amidst the endless demonic energy. The berserk energy impacted the 9 heavens and 10 earths. In the air, large swathes of lightning shattered, directly smashed into pieces by the impact. The dissipated energy transformed into talisman runes that covered the sky and earth, sweeping through everything in their path. The surrounding fog was dispelled and retreated thousands of miles away, revealing a large empty area. Demonic chi and lightning continued to shatter and annihilate each other, colliding with each other. The atmosphere was steaming like boiling water. A series of whistling sounds rang out, some sharp, some resounding, some grand. The energy that filled the sky danced violently. Only after a long time did it calm down and gradually dissipate. That doomsday-like rumbling and sharp whistling sound finally disappeared. Only on the ground, there was a huge pit of unknown depth. That was the last trace left behind by the great battle. When all the violent scenes slowly receded, the surrounding fog also slowly gathered, and soon, the original battlefield was filled up. However, the three demon emperors had thought too much before they died. Originally, he had wanted to use the self-detonation to severely injure Du Xiaofu. However, he had not expected that Du Xiaofu had already used the Fuyao style and gone to the place where the explosion had occurred. No matter how terrifying the self-detonation was, it did not cause any damage to the purple-robed young man. Whoosh, under the cover of the dense fog, there were several figures flashing and passing through. These people came to the side of the big pit and were silent for a while. Finally, he is dead? Du Xiaoyao said after letting out a sigh. Due to the existence of the fog, he could only see a little of the scene in front of him. However, he knew in his heart that under Du Xiaofu's powerful means, the three demon emperors should not have survived. It should be true, Du Xiaofu replied, but there was a trace of uncertainty in his tone. This was because the 9 demon emperors, who had been killed in Snow Spirit Mountain earlier, were still alive and kicking. Needless to say, it must have been the means of the demonic god to bring them back to life. However, he did not know if the 3 demon emperors had succeeded in their self-detonation, which would truly destroy their bodies and souls. He did not know if such means would still work. We don't have time to think about that. Killing the 3 demon emperors can be considered as cutting off a great help for the demonic god. However, our real enemy is still the demonic god. Huolei Laozu, who was standing at the side, added, Ancestor is right. As long as the demonic god is not dead, even if we kill all the 9 demon emperors, we will not be able to shake the foundation of the devil religion, Du Xiaofu said, with a trace of worry between his eyebrows. As long as the demonic god was not destroyed in this world, it was impossible to kill him. The only thing that could be done was to suppress him, just like what the ancestors of the primordial age had done. However, in this world now, no one had the strength to do so. Even if the lords of the 3,000 worlds and the dragon god were here, they would not be able to do anything to the demonic god. Unless, Du Xiaofu thought to himself, unless someone could surpass the sage stage and reach the same realm as the ancestors, they could integrate with the heavenly way and use the power of the heavenly way to mobilize the invisible rules of this world and suppress the demonic god again. In this world, the person who had the highest chance of reaching that realm again was only him. After stepping into the half-step heavenly sage stage, his cultivation had far surpassed everyone else's. However, even if the opportunity to integrate with the heavenly way was placed in front of Du Xiaofu now, he would still feel repulsed and hesitant. This was because he knew that the heavenly way was selfless, but it was even more heartless. Once he integrated with the heavenly way and suppressed the demonic god, the final outcome would not be any different from the ancestors of the primordial age. In the end, he would not be able to escape the fate of being obliterated by the invisible rules. Even if he could not die, Du Xiaofu would not be able to sit on that supreme position and let go of his loved ones and loved ones. I'm thinking too much. If I can't suppress the demonic god, then no one will be able to survive. What's the point of talking about loved ones and loved ones? Du Xiaofu took a light breath and sighed. His mind slowly became firm. Turning around, his gaze swept past Huolei Laozu, Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, Han Ji, and Lu Limo. In his mind, figures appeared one after another. Father, mother, sister, little tiger, little Qing, Sima Muhan, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yishi, Elder Yi, Murong Yurua, little Xingxing, Du Xiaoba, little Qielin, and so on. Du Xiaofu's gaze slowly became sharp and resolute. From this moment on, he knew that if there came a day when he had to walk the path of integrating with the heavenly way, he would not hesitate at all. If he could use his life to suppress the demonic god in exchange for the safety of his loved ones, then everything would be worth it. Let's go. Shaking his head and dispelling the chaotic thoughts in his mind, Du Xiaofu said to the few people around him. Then, without further delay, he turned around and left. Looking at the purple-robed figure leaving, Huolei Laozu, Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, Han Ji, and Lu Limo looked at each other. They seemed to see some loneliness and determination in the purple-robed figure's body, and this kind of emotion seemed to have never appeared in the young man. The burden on his shoulders is too heavy. Huolei Laozu sighed as if he had seen through Du Xiaofu's current state of mind. Hearing Huolei Laozu's words, the remaining four nodded in agreement. Desolation was due to his own helplessness, determination because of the people he wanted to protect, and the determination to press forward courageously. Wait for us, Ouyang Shuang cried out. Her exquisite figure spread out and quickly caught up with the purple-robed young man's pace, walking side by side with him. Boss, slow down, Du Xiaoyao also shouted. With a flash of golden light under her feet, she went to Du Xiaofu's other side and walked side by side with him. Let's go, Huolei Laozu called out. Together with Han Ji and Lu Limo, they flew to Du Xiaofu's two sides and walked forward silently. Seeing this scene, Du Xiaofu was stunned for a moment. Then, he could not help but reveal a light smile on his face. No matter what, there were countless people around him, just like the few beside him. They would stand shoulder to shoulder with him and fight to the end. This was enough. Chapter 26-23. Translator. H2DH2 Mr. This foggy world was vast and boundless. At this moment, there were probably more than 1,000 people lost within, unable to find their way out. At a certain place, there was also a boundless foggy world. There was an incomparably imposing figure here, releasing a dense demonic aura. Around him, there were countless mountains of corpses and seas of blood, as well as spirits and malicious ghosts. This figure was the demonic god. Beside him, the great demonic emperor, the 4 demonic emperors, and the 5 demonic emperors were all there. The 3rd demonic emperor is dead? Suddenly, the demonic god stopped in his tracks, turned his head, and said softly as he looked in a certain direction. What? The great demonic emperor, the 4 demonic emperors, and the 5 demonic emperors were all shocked as they looked at the demonic god in disbelief. He self-detonated and his demonic spirit was destroyed. He can't be revived. The demonic god explained. There was no strong fluctuation in his tone. Who is it? Who killed 3rd brother? The 4 demonic emperors clenched their fists tightly as killing intent flashed in their demonic eyes. To be able to force him to self-detonate, other than that brat Du Xiaofu, who else could it be? The great demonic emperor's gloomy and hoarse voice sounded. His petite body was surrounded by dense demonic aura, making it impossible to see his face clearly. He self-detonated and his demonic spirit was destroyed. 3rd brother can't be revived anymore. The 5 demonic emperors spoke, their hearts pained. If the demonic spirit was still around, with the means of the demonic god, 3rd brother could still be revived like 9th brother. Du Xiaofu, one day, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. The 4 demonic emperor smashed the void with a punch as he spoke harshly. After Du Xiaofu killed the 3rd demonic emperor, the group of 6 continued on their journey, heading deeper into the foggy world. With the Cosmos sack from Tianwu Academy in his hand, Du Xiaofu could easily see through the foggy world and move forward freely under the effects of the divine spirit in it. Under Du Xiaofu's lead, Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, and the others were no longer exhausted by the monotony of the world. We need to find the rest as soon as possible. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he said softly. His body flashed, and his speed was incomparably fast. Very soon, he was already far away. At the same time, an invisible force was released from his body, pulling the remaining 5 people along with him to prevent them from getting lost. Boss, use the power of your primordial spirit to check, Du Xiaoyao said. With Du Xiaofu's powerful primordial spirit, it was much more convenient for him to investigate the situation here compared to using his eyes. No, the power of the primordial spirit is still unable to spread too far. I can only observe with my naked eyes, Du Xiaofu replied. He had already tested it a long time ago. Although he could see very far with the help of the soul, he was still able to see very far away. However, the power of the essence spirit was still extremely limited. It was trapped within a small area and could not be of any use. Therefore, in order to find the people from the desolate nation and the other forces, they could only rely on their own eyes. Hopefully, they would not encounter any demon gods or demon emperors before that. There's someone over there, Du Xiaofu thought to himself, but his eyes were constantly scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, he let out a soft cry of surprise. In his line of sight, he saw a figure walking unsteadily in the extreme distance. Who is it? Huolei Laozu asked. It's someone from the devil religion. Du Xiaofu's tone became gloomy with killing intent. He had a slight impression of this person from the devil religion. When he was outside the space portal, he was in the camp of the devil religion. He was a saint realm cultivator. However, Du Xiaofu did not expect that other than the 6 demon emperors, the rest of the people from the devil religion had also come in. Needless to say, the 7 demon emperors, the 8 demon emperors, the 9 demon emperors, Moksha, Imo Lingzi, and the others must be here at this time. Since it's a piece of trash from the devil religion, let's kill him quickly. Du Xiaoyao's eyes emitted a fierce light as he said fiercely, Let's go. Du Xiaofu did not waste time talking nonsense. He immediately led the others and rushed in the direction of the person from the devil religion. Since they had encountered a saint realm cultivator from the devil religion here, there was no reason to let him go. As the backbone of the devil religion, killing one of them meant one less. Boss, tell me where that person from the devil religion is and how far away he is. I'll go and kill him. Du Xiaoyao asked again as they moved forward. He's right in front of us, just 100 miles away. Du Xiaofu replied. With their speed, they quickly approached that person. However, due to the obstruction of the fog, the other party did not realize that danger was approaching. I'll go first. Du Xiaoyao suddenly let out a soft shout. and then directly left Du Xiaofu's group of 5 behind and rushed forward. Apart from Du Xiaofu, Huolei Laozu, Hunji, Ouyang Shuang, and Lu Limo saw Du Xiaoyao's figure flash and disappear into the fog in front of them. "This guy is so impatient," Hunji scolded with a smile. "He's a damn monkey to begin with." Ouyang Shuang curled her lips. In front of them, the Saint Realm cultivator from the devil religion had bloodshot eyes. Under the terrifying pressure of this space, coupled with the omnipresent fog, he was mentally tortured. He had used up more than half of his strength, and his expression was depressed. It was obvious that they had been here for a long time. "Lord Demon God, Lord Demon King, where are you?" The person from the devil religion muttered to himself weakly. His voice was filled with exhaustion. He raised his head blankly and looked around, hoping to see some figures. However, to his disappointment, he could not see anything other than the fog around him. Just as he retracted his gaze and was about to continue wandering aimlessly, a voice suddenly rang in his ears. "Your Lord Demon King is waiting for you. He asked me to send you to him." Hearing this, the person from the devil religion felt as if he had heard the voice of nature. He suddenly raised his head, and his eyes shone brightly. He instantly became energetic. At the same time, a feeling of escaping rose in his heart. It was as if a bright light had lit up in the darkness, guiding him forward. He looked behind him in surprise and saw a golden light appear in his line of sight. In the golden light, there was a palm that carried a terrifying force and brazenly pressed down on the top of his head. In the next moment, he saw the owner of the palm clearly. To everyone in the devil religion, the person in front of him was known by everyone. "Du Xiaoyao. You're Du Xiaoyao." The person from the devil religion was suddenly shocked and could not help but shout in panic. The young man in front of him was none other than the brother of the demon king Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, who had the body of a red-bone horse monkey. After being overjoyed in his heart, he was greatly shocked. This was an expert who could contend against the devil emperor. To think that he would actually encounter such an expert. As soon as Du Xiaoyao came up, he carried an extremely terrifying attack. The person from the devil religion felt his hair stand on end, and a chill ran down his spine. Without thinking, he quickly retreated, wanting to avoid the opponent's attack. At the same time, he held a large black saber in his hand. Billowing devil chi crazily rose from the saber's body, giving rise to dense smoke. The large saber shattered the void, and the devil chi raged violently, slashing down on Du Xiaoyao's large golden hand. Although he knew that he was no match for the opponent, he absolutely could not sit still and wait for death. "In front of me, there's no room for you to resist," Du Xiaoyao shouted in a low voice, and the speed of his attack increased by 30%. He did not dodge, but directly pressed down on the large saber. A monstrous force burst out, and the void rumbled. After a loud clang, the large black saber, which was wrapped in devil chi, was instantly crushed by Du Xiaoyao's large golden hand. A saint artifact was instantly shattered into pieces in a single exchange. Then, Du Xiaoyao's palm did not slow down, and suddenly slammed on the head of the person from the devil religion. Under Du Xiaoyao's control, endless majestic force surged down and invaded the person's body, destroying his meridians and spirit watchtower instantly like a hot knife through butter. "Ah!" The person from the devil religion screamed miserably. The devil chi around him vibrated, and he tried to break free. However, his cultivation was only at the initial stage of the sage realm, and there was a big gap between him and the middle stage. How could he compete with Du Xiaoyao? He could only be crushed. His body was cracking, and blood was gushing out. His 7 orifices exploded at the same time, and scarlet blood was flowing out of his mouth, nostrils, eyes, and ears. "Go and accompany your 3 demon emperors." Du Xiaoyao smiled coldly, and then the force in his palm increased by 20%, surging out violently. Die! Bang! The body of the person from the devil religion could no longer withstand Du Xiaoyao's force, and suddenly exploded into a cloud of blood mist, which seeped into the surrounding fog, and then faded away. Du Xiaoyao slowly withdrew his palm, looked at the person from the devil religion who had disappeared in front of him, and snorted. Under the protection of the golden shield around his body, the blood mist did not touch him at all. Okay, let's continue. At this moment, Du Xiaofu and the other four caught up and appeared beside Du Xiaoyao. They were all relieved that the person from the devil religion had been killed. After all, that person was a sage realm cultivator. For the demonic sect, the loss of every saint stage expert would definitely cause them great heartache. After that, Du Xiaofu and the others did not delay any longer, and they set off again. Boss, next, we not only have to find our own people, but also find some bastards from the devil religion and kill them all, Du Xiaoyao said, and his words contained a terrible fierceness. I think this method is feasible. Kid, you have the help of the divine soul in your cosmos bag, and we can completely defeat the people from the devil religion here. Huolei Laozu said, and his old eyes narrowed. That's right, the devil god and the remaining demon emperors are also trapped here, and they can't take care of each other. If we don't take advantage of this opportunity to slaughter them wantonly, how can we face their devil god? Du Xiaofu nodded, and unconsciously there was a bit of gloomy killing intent. Chapter 26-24. Du Xiaofu and the others continued on their journey, constantly patrolling the foggy space in an attempt to find experts from the 3 continents, Kyushu region, or people from the devil religion. Previously, Hunji had told Du Xiaofu that various major forces from the outside world had already rushed over. Most likely, those whose strength had reached the Saint Realm and above had already stepped through the void corridor and entered the foggy space. And from the words of Ouyang Shuang and Lu Limo, he finally confirmed this point. Because of Du Xiaofu's breakthrough and the demon god's subsequent movement, countless people were worried that he would use methods to kill Du Xiaofu. Thus, they all moved separately to strengthen the Rock Emperor's momentum. Many experts set off from the outside world, and many people gathered along the way, forming an even more magnificent group. After entering the demon realm, at the void portal, they bumped into the 3 great demon emperors of the devil religion, Mo Lingzi, Moksha, and the others. Both sides immediately erupted into an intense battle. Because of Du Xiaofu's heavenly thunder punishment, the devil religion's people had lost a lot of their battle strength. Moreover, people from the outside world were constantly entering the battlefield, and the overall situation of the battle was one-sided. The devil religion was completely suppressed. In the end, the 3 great demon emperors made a prompt decision and led their subordinates into the void portal, arriving here. This foggy space was too vast and boundless. It was not easy for Du Xiaofu and the others to gather with all the experts. However, with his speed, he was incomparably fast with Du Xiaoyao, Ouyang Shuang, and the others passing through. Du Xiaofu flew high in the sky and looked down, his vision covering a large area. Pieces of land flitted past under his feet, and regions were swept by his vision. In the end, he finally found some familiar figures. The first one he encountered was the Phoenix clan's Saint Feng Qi Then. They met up with Old Man Deepai of the Family Farmer clan, Jialo Jueyu of the Golden-Winged Great Rocks, Desolate Sky Leopard of the Tianhuang continent, Bing Luan and Bing Chun of the Snow Hall of the Great Snow Mountain. During this period, the group also encountered several people from the devil religion, but they were all ordinary saint stage experts. Every time, Du Xiaoyao would take the lead and charge forward to kill them all. No one would show mercy to the people of the devil religion. If they were not killed today, they would become a great threat to all living beings in the future. Xiaoyao, there's another person from the devil religion up ahead. As they moved forward, Du Xiaofu spoke again. Understood. There was utterly no need to hesitate, nor was there any need to ask any further questions. Little Demon Du's figure charged out, and she killed that person with a speed that left no time for one to cover one's ears. Hee, this foggy space is really a good place. The Fiend Celestial and the few demon emperors aren't here, so we can kill without restraint. I'm really looking forward to seeing if the Fiend Celestial will become a general without an army when everyone leaves this foggy space. Du Xiaoyao chuckled, his handsome face carrying an unbearable sense of carefreeness. His eyes, however, were filled with a ferocious glint that was filled with sharpness. I hope the Fiend Celestial finds the recovery item later. Old Man Deepai sighed with a worried expression. The fiend celestial must be quite confident to come here. No one could predict what kind of changes would occur here after he found the item to restore his strength. However, he wasn't worried about himself and the others because they had Du Xiaofu's Qinkuan bag. The foggy space wouldn't be able to trap them to death. Let's continue on our way, Du Xiaofu called out. More than 10 figures broke through the air and continued to sweep through the foggy space. Endless land retreated under their feet, and large areas were searched. After about 2 days, Du Xiaofu's team became even stronger. The child of the sacred array, Zhen Qingchun, Little Tiger Du, Dugu Finshan, Lei Tianhuang, Little Blue Phoenix, Su Yangzi of the Taoist sect, Hu Xuanhu, Lei Yang, Gu Xinyan of the Emo clan, Yu Zheng Tongxian of the Heaven Music sect in Yunzhou, Xiao Gu of the Heavenly Roaring Demonic Lion clan of the Ancient Wilderness Continent, Ji Qianyue of the Human Tribe's Divine Palace, and so on. In total, there were no less than 30 people who had gathered together. When they saw Du Xiaofu, they were all very happy. After exchanging a few pleasantries with each other, they continued to sweep through the area under the leadership of Du Xiaofu. A few more days passed, and more experts were found by Du Xiaofu. Du Tingxian, Little Xingxing, Little Qilin, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaojing, Yi Piaoling, Chang Guyu, Yalu Han, Dai Xingyu, Mu Jianchen, Bailey Wuya, Sima Muhan, Dongli Qingqing, Zixian, Huang Ling Qi Yin, Hu Pao, Jiang Yiting, Feng Wucha, and so on. Even the old Azure Dragon, Long Gu, who was guarding the dragons, was here. In addition, Fairy Lu Xia and the Ice Matriarch from the Holy Demon Temple of the Demon Realm were also here. After this, the team continued to expand, and there were more than 100 people. These people were all above the Sage Realm. Among them, what made Du Xiaofu's eyelids twitch the most was the change in Little Xingxing. He's already at the peak of the Sage Realm. Du Xiaofu was tongue-tied, and he was shocked. After the battle with the dragons, Little Xingxing entered the sleeping dragon cave to accept the things left behind by her biological father, the dragon god. He didn't expect that when he came out this time, he was already so strong. He was not weaker than himself before he broke through to the half-step Heavenly Saint realm. This was really too terrifying. As expected of a supreme expert, his methods are heaven-defying, and I can't compare to him, Du Xiaofu said, and he couldn't help but sigh at the power of the dragon god. Just a legacy alone had allowed Little Xingxing to improve so much. If it weren't for the bottleneck of the Heavenly Saint realm, who knew how far Little Xingxing would have gone? Father, isn't your strength improving even faster? Even if my father left me the inheritance, it still can't catch up to your cultivation speed. Little Xingxing curled her lips and rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. As soon as these words came out, the rest of the people nodded in agreement. They didn't know how the purple-robed young man cultivated. He was only in his 30s, but he had already reached the peak of this world and looked down on all the living beings in the world. Other than the demon god, no one else could resist him. However, while everyone agreed, they were all expressionless. They weren't too shocked because they were already numb to this kind of situation. Why else would I say that I'm your father? Du Xiaofu smiled and reached out to ruffle Little Xingxing's hair, which attracted the little girl's death stare. Boss, let's continue to sweep. Du Xiaoyao rubbed his hands and said to Du Xiaofu. In the past few days, other than gathering a team of nearly 100 people, they had also encountered many people from the devil religion. There were about 50 to 60 people from the devil religion, and all of them were killed. Most of them died in the hands of Du Xiaoyao. Everyone set off again and set foot on the road. Little Qilin jumped out of Ouyang Shuang's arms and climbed directly onto Du Xiaofu's head. It squatted on the ground calmly with a pair of bright eyes narrowed. It was taking a nap, and it was indescribably comfortable. As for Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang, they fell between Dongli Qingqing, Zixian, and the other girls, hiding from Du Xiaofu. Because when they first appeared, Du Xiaofu's ferocious eyes made the two little fellows feel terrified. When the demon god came here, these two little things actually ran over to join in the fun, which made Du Xiaofu want to pick them up and spank them. However, under the protection of the girls, Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang's buttocks were saved, but they were still a little afraid of Du Xiaofu. Time passed slowly, and under Du Xiaofu's search, More and more powerhouses were found by them. It was just that in this huge space, the further they went, the more difficult it was to gather together. From the time they killed the 3 demon emperors, a total of half a month had passed, and they finally gathered about 150 to 160 people. At the same time, the number of people from the devil religion who died in their hands was about to reach hundreds. There were no less than 500 Saint Realm powerhouses from the devil religion before this. Outside the space portal, Boss had killed nearly 200 people with one move. Now, another 100 had died. Only 200 people were left. If the demon god and the other demon emperors know this news, I wonder if they will feel distressed. Du Xiaoyao laughed, and the corners of his mouth were so wide that they almost reached his ears. Of course, he was the most active and cheerful person in killing the people from the devil religion. However, after little Xingxing, Du Xiaoba, and Du Xiaohuang gathered together, Du Xiaoyao had fewer opportunities to attack. Especially little Xingxing, with her terrifying strength. Even if Du Xiaoyao wanted to fight, he would not be able to win against her. Everyone kept moving forward, and when they met up with the powerhouses from the 3 continents, Kyushu, and other realms, they were also constantly killing. In this foggy space, everything seemed so calm. However, under this calm that no one could see, the figures of the devil religion were crushed and died a violent death. Everyone swept through one area after another, causing the overall strength of the devil religion to suffer a great loss unknowingly. It's just a pity that we did not meet the other demon emperors. The mark between little Xingxing's eyebrows glowed as she said in a deep voice. Right now, her strength was enough to completely crush the other demon emperors. If she could meet them and cut off the most powerful arm of the demon god, that would be really satisfying. Unfortunately, only Du Xiaofu killed the 3 demon emperors at the beginning. As for the rest, she did not meet them. And that Emo Lingzi guy, Huolei Laozu suddenly said, and his old face was filled with intense killing intent. Emo Lingzi had the lightning martial vein, and he was definitely from the Du family. In other words, he had an inseparable relationship with the heavenly Tao of the primordial age. Regarding this, Huolei Laozu, who was also related to the ancestors of the Du family, could not let it go no matter what. In his heart, he only wanted to be able to take off Emo Lingzi's hood and see his true appearance. He wanted to see which unfilial descendant of the Du family would actually be controlled by the demon god. Chapter 26-25. Regarding Emo Lingzi's true identity, it wasn't only Huolei Laozu who was deeply concerned. Including Du Xiaofu, Du Tingxian, and the rest of the Du family wanted to capture him and uncover his true identity. We'll find out who he is eventually, Du Xiaofu said with a gloomy voice. Similar to Huolei Laozu, killing intent shot out from his eyes. Without a doubt, Emo Lingzi possessed the lightning martial vein, so the Du family's bloodline definitely flowed in his body. As a descendant of the heavenly Tao, he actually worked for the demon god. This was a fact that no one could understand. Such a scum could be said to be punishable by everyone. Perhaps he didn't do it willingly, Du Tingxian said from the side. He took out a jar of wine from his Qinkuan pouch and took a big gulp. It could be seen that his mood wasn't very good when Emo Lingzi's matter was mentioned. Father, do you have some guesses about his identity? Du Xiaojing took a step forward and asked Du Tingxian. Her pair of bright eyes stared at her father, hoping to see something from his face. Since her father said those words, then he definitely had his own guesses about Emo Lingzi's identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said those words. However, what made her disappointed was that after Du Tingxian swallowed a mouthful of strong wine, he restrained his emotions and his expression didn't fluctuate much. Truth and falsehood, there will be a day when the conclusion will be reached. Emo Lingzi's identity will also be revealed. Seeing that his drunkard father didn't reply, Du Xiaofu knew that he wasn't willing to say, so he could only mediate the situation. Since his father didn't want to say, then it was better not to force him. Because Du Xiaofu also had his own guesses in his heart. What he could determine now was that his own guesses and his father's guesses should coincide with each other. It was also because of this that he understood why his father's mood wasn't good. There were only so many people in the Du family, and he knew most of them. There wasn't anyone who went missing or betrayed him for no reason, turning into a Mo Lingzi and becoming the lackey of the devil religion. Following this train of thought, it was actually not difficult to guess the true origin of the Black Dragon King. But only on that day would he be able to truly confirm this point. Regardless of whether Mo Lingzi betrayed him willingly or out of helplessness, Du Xiaofu would never allow such a thing to continue to exist. There had to be a way to end it. Let's continue. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything more. Instead, he led more than 100 Sage Realm cultivators and sped up. There was no time to waste, and no one knew when the God Fiend would find the recovery item. Before that, taking advantage of the existence of this foggy space, it would be better to gather more experts from the 3 continents, Kyushu, and kill a few more people from the devil religion. Because once the God Fiend achieved his goal, no one knew what changes would happen here. But one thing was for sure, once the God Fiend got his way, the final result would be a huge loss to the living beings of this realm. Now that everyone was scattered and alone, the danger they had to face would be much greater. There are at least a few hundred people from the outside world who came in this time. In addition to the hundreds of Sage Realm cultivators from the devil religion, there are close to 1,000 people. And now that we've gathered, including the people from the devil religion that we've killed, we've met a total of less than 300 people in this space. In other words, there are about 700 people that we haven't met yet. While everyone was moving forward, Sacred Array Childjun Qingchun pinched his fingers and calculated. 700 was not a small number. However, this space was truly too vast. Hence, it took Du Xiaofu quite a lot of time to gather the current 100-plus people. It was almost impossible to gather everyone together. However, before the God Fiend got the item to recover, the more people they gathered, the more advantageous it would be for the later matters. It's a pity that in this foggy space, only Du Xiaofu can see through everything with his means. In addition, the power of the primordial spirit can't be used, so the efficiency of finding people is too low. Huolei Laozu added, if everyone could be like Du Xiaofu, then it would be much easier to split up and search for them. Of course, this idea was unrealistic, because if everyone had such means, then this foggy space would have no meaning to exist. The God Fiend and the people from the devil religion could easily find them, and a war would be inevitable. As a result, the advantage they had at this moment was completely gone. There's movement in front. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu opened his mouth and said, his eyes narrowing fiercely. A fierce aura spread out, and even the little Qilin, who was squatting on his forehead and taking a nap, woke up in an instant. Is it the people from the devil religion again? Du Xiaoyao licked her lips and asked impatiently, her hands itching to rub. At the same time, the aura on little Xingxing's body suddenly rose, and the mark between his eyebrows became even more bewitching and strange, with a murderous aura. Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang also poked their little heads out from behind the girls, their auras bursting out, looking ready to attack. Yes, it's the people from the devil religion and second brother, Du Xiaofu said softly, and quickly rushed over with everyone. His vision was not blocked by the fog, and he directly saw the scene in the distance. There, a battle between 2 people was going on. As the distance continued to close, the appearance of the people fighting also fell into his eyes. One of them was his second brother Du Yunlong, and the one fighting with him was a member of the devil religion. It's second uncle, let's go help him. Du Xiaoba called out, pulled Du Xiaohuang, and ran away. Little Xingxing was not willing to fall behind, and with a stretch of its small body, it overtook the 2 little guys. Wait for me, little Qilin shouted, rushed out from the top of Du Xiaofu's head, quickly chased, and disappeared into the fog. Seeing such a scene, Du Xiaoyao, who was about to rush forward, abruptly stopped, and a distressed look appeared on his handsome face. He knew that the current strength of these little guys was not much weaker than him, especially little Xingxing, who was above him. With them going, he would not be able to join in the fun. Even if the people from the devil religion were one of the 9 great devil emperors, they would definitely not be able to escape. Du Xiaofu also smiled slightly and did not rush over too hastily. In his eyes, his second brother was fighting with the people from the devil religion, and it was difficult to tell who would win. It would be difficult for them to defeat each other in a short time. With the addition of little Xingxing, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaolin, the people from the devil religion would not be able to escape today. Big brother, let's go over quickly. Apart from you, no one else can see here. Although we can't fight, it's also good to watch the fun. Du Xiaoyao said to Du Xiaofu, and felt quite sullen and depressed. With these little demon king here, I'm afraid I won't have the opportunity to fight again. All right. Du Xiaofu nodded in agreement and rushed forward with everyone and surrounded the battlefield of the two people. Unexpectedly, both of them have the cultivation of the sage perfection realm. Because Du Yunlong and the people from the devil religion were fighting, the terrifying energy fluctuations dispersed the fog within 100 miles around them. Therefore, when everyone came close, their vision was no longer obstructed, and they could clearly see the scene of the fight. The cultivation of these two people was not ordinary, and both of them had the strength of the sage perfection realm. They didn't know much about the people from the devil religion, but apart from the 9 great demon emperors, it was normal for there to be some experts in the sage perfection realm. However, Du Yunlong's performance could only be described as monstrous. At this time, even Du Xiaofu couldn't help but have a whole new level of respect for his second brother at this time. He knew that his second brother's talent was extraordinary, and the effort he had put in on the road of cultivation was also amazing. At the same time, he also had a lot of opportunities, and he had once obtained the inheritance of Heaven Sage Fu Huang in the ancient, desolate, ominous ground. However, the fact that he was able to reach such a level so quickly made people gasp in shock. Although his speed was nothing compared to little Xingxing, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaoba, it was enough to shock the world. Before they entered the ancient, desolate, ominous ground, his second brother was only in the martial field realm, and he hadn't even reached the sage realm. People from the devil religion? Kill. Under the gaze of more than 100 sage realm experts, Du Yunlong shouted loudly. With a sacred weapon in his hand, as he waved, endless thunder and lightning came down, shattering the endless void and madly pouring down on the people from the devil religion. Under the control of the thunder martial vein in his body, the terrifying thunder and lightning came down like a waterfall. A huge black hole appeared in the void, making a passage for the thunder and lightning waterfall to move forward. Humph! Today, let me see how amazing the thunder martial vein of the Du family is. The person from the devil religion also snorted coldly, and the sacred weapon in his hand vibrated violently, causing a series of buzzing sounds that made people's eardrums go numb. A strong demonic aura surged out from his body, adding to the strength of the sacred weapon in his hand. In the void in front of him, a mountain of corpses appeared, and a sea of blood appeared, carrying the smell of blood, like a scene from purgatory. The attacks of the two people collided in an instant, and suddenly a terrible impact and explosion burst out. After the loud bang, the shattered energy swept out, spreading out in the space, and then turned into runes that covered the sky and earth, fluttering and dancing. The two figures also retreated 100 feet at the same time, and their chi was shaken to a certain extent. However, after only one breath, they both stabilized, and their strength was not affected too much. This time, the result of the collision was still a draw. Second uncle, we're here to help you. At this moment, Du Xiaohuang's clear cry sounded, and it fell into the ears of Du Yunlong and the people from the devil religion. Second uncle, we're here. Little Qilin's 4 hooves stepped on the light of thunder and lightning, and it also shouted crisply. After that, it even gave Du Yunlong a Qilin-style smile. Next to them, Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang also moved at the same time, rushing straight into the battlefield and landed beside Du Yunlong. Seeing such a scene, Du Yunlong and the people from the devil religion could not help but be stunned for a moment. In this foggy space, several little guys actually appeared at the same time, which made them feel a little incredulous. Little Xingxing, Xiaoba, Xiaohuang, Xiaolin. Du Yunlong focused for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. In this foggy space, he had been wandering alone for a long time, and now he finally saw a few nephews and nieces. How could he not be happy? It's them. On the other hand, the people from the devil religion's face twitched fiercely. He knew that none of these little fellows were simple. If he encountered them alone, he still had the confidence to fight. But now the four of them came together, plus Du Yunlong, who was not weaker than him. The following situation was probably not good. If he continued to fight, he might even be in danger of dying. Hey, so many people are here. Soon, Du Yunlong found that there were more than 100 figures standing in the void outside the battlefield, all of them looking at him and the others calmly. Among them, third uncle Du Tingxian, third brother Du Xiaofu, and the others were all there. Haha, you guys are amazing, actually gathering so many people. Du Yunlong laughed out loud. Previously, he was also worried that many experts would encounter people from the devil religion with high cultivation here and encounter unimaginable things. But now, seeing so many people here, he was immediately relieved. Du Xiaofu. On the opposite side, the people from the devil religion naturally saw all of this. When the violet-robed figure entered his field of vision, his countenance instantly turned ghastly pale, and his lips couldn't help but tremble. Tap, tap, tap. The people from the devil religion unconsciously took 3 steps back, his body trembling like a sieve, and he could not stop trembling. Boundless fear spread in his heart, causing his whole body to feel cold. He knew that as the devil religion's greatest enemy, Du Xiaofu, had now stepped into the half-step heavenly saint realm, and the 9 great demon emperors could not do anything to him even if they joined forces. And he, a mere perfect saint realm expert, was not in the eyes of the other party at all. In fact, the demon king was just watching quietly from the side, as if he had no intention of making a move. Thinking of this, he could not help but brew some plans in his heart. Second uncle, let's join forces and deal with this devil religion thief together, little Xingxing said, his body emitting a fierce aura. That's right, we still have to find the others. We can't waste too much time because of him. Du Xiaohuang's little head was big as she pulled Du Yunlong's sleeve and said, Haha, good. Originally, I saw a person with a similar cultivation, so I was excited and wanted to train myself. It just so happened that I was in this foggy space and couldn't get out for a while, so the fight took a little longer. Since you said so, I, your second uncle, will also let go of my hands and feet and join you to deal with this devil religion thief as soon as possible. Du Yunlong laughed loudly, and his heroic voice was suddenly heard. At the same time, a vast and boundless aura suddenly rushed out from his body. A terrifying light burst out like a blazing sun. Following that, within the light, an illusory figure appeared and took shape above Du Yunlong's head. Suddenly, a terrifying pressure descended, as if an ancient creature had awakened, with an aura that could suppress everything. Under such a scene, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaolin could not help but retreat, and even little Xingxing took half a step back slightly. The aura on his body circulated, and only then did he offset the power emitted by Du Yunlong. Clang! An enormous rumble resounded. It was like a great bell that shook the entire space and caused the heavens and the earth to tremble. Subduing desolation, holy bell, rise! Du Yunlong shouted and exhaled loudly. The endless light on his body quickly rushed into the sky and entered the shadow, causing it to condense quickly and become a substantial object, turning into the shape of a large bell. This large bell was a matchless treasure, an item from the desolate era. It emitted a terrifying might and possessed an extremely vast aura. As soon as it appeared, without any movement, it caused the surrounding space to burst open silently. The cracks spread to the surroundings like a spider web. Wow, second uncle is so powerful. It seems that he is even stronger than me. Little Qilin blinked his big eyes and looked up at Du Yunlong with a bit of worship. Sister Xingxing, I feel that there is nothing for us to do. Let's go first. Du Xiaohuang pulled little Xingxing's sleeve and said weakly, Let's go. Let's go to the side and watch the show. Little Xingxing also nodded and left with Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaolin. They retreated to the side, intending to quietly watch the battle. The strength that their second uncle had displayed at this time even made little Xingxing feel that it was a little terrifying. In this case, there was no need for them to make a move at all. In fact, It wasn't just the little ones who were shocked. Even Du Xiaofu, who was dozens of miles away, was shocked. When second brother was fusing with the subduing desolation holy bell, he was captured by the Gulen heavenly condor clan, and he was the one who saved him. How long had it been? And he had actually reached such a level. It was really too terrifying. Around Du Xiaofu, Du Tingxian, Jin Qingchun, Du Xiaoyao, Huolei Laozu, and the others were also shocked. Who would have thought that Du Yunlong's cultivation had unknowingly reached such a level? Before coming to the demon realm and entering this foggy space, he had always been hiding his strength, but it turned out that he had already reached a height that many people could not imagine. The people of the Du family are indeed all abnormal. Su Yangzi of the Taoist family, Hu Xuanhu of the Imo family, Old Man Dipai of the farmer family, and a large group of people looked at each other for a long time, unable to speak for a long time. In the end, they could only smile bitterly. Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaojing, Du Tingxian, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaolin, and so on. There was no one in this family who was weak. At this time, another Du Yunlong appeared, which greatly shocked everyone, especially the big bell that Du Yunlong controlled. One could tell at a glance that it was not an ordinary thing. The thick and heavy aura that was emitted seemed to be even thicker than this world. There was no doubt that with just one attack, it could erupt with a world-shaking power. Chapter 26:26. The eyes of the devil religion's sage realm consummate realm expert opposite, Du Yunlong trembled fiercely in an instant. He and Du Yunlong had been fighting here for a long time, and neither of them could do anything to the other. He had originally thought that the other party's strength was indeed on par with his. Never had he imagined that the might revealed by the young man in a cloud robe would actually attain such a terrifying level. Both of them were at the sage consummate realm. However, the disparity between them was very obvious. It turned out that Du Yunlong had been suppressing himself and fighting with him for a long time only to hone himself. This person from the devil religion had a cold look in his eyes. His heart was filled with resentment and hatred. With the ferocious aura that Du Yunlong was displaying, it shouldn't be difficult for him to crush him with that huge bell. This caused his heart to palpitate for no reason. I won't waste any more time with you. Die. Du Yunlong's indifferent voice rang out and spread out in this space. As his voice echoed, his cloud robe fluttered without any wind. Clang. The desolation settling sacred bell above his head shined brightly and once again let out a sonorous sound wave that spread out in all directions. Puff, puff, puff. Waves of powerful invisible energy rippled out, destroying the void. A destructive storm swept out in an instant. This treasure possessed a peerless might, and what it erupted with was a heavy aura that was countless times more vast than a lofty mountain. No matter how many tricks the enemy has up their sleeves, I will crush them with my world-suppressing power. Too strong. Retreat. Dozens of miles away, among the crowd of spectators, some of the weaker ones suddenly felt extremely stifled. It was as if their chests were unable to rise and fall, and it was difficult for them to breathe. All of them couldn't help but retreat in shock, trying to avoid the impact of the sound wave to avoid being injured. However, the sound waves were too terrifying. Moreover, they had no openings and could not enter. No matter how far they hid, they could not completely escape. In the blink of an eye, quite a few people were shaken violently. Their faces paled, and a few people even had blood flowing out of the corners of their mouths. They were slightly injured. Everyone, come to my side, Du Xiaofu called out. His body also exuded a formless wave that was as gentle as the spring breeze. The impact of the sound wave was offset. When everyone came to his side, they all heaved a sigh of relief. However, the sweat that soaked their robes showed how much pressure they had been under just now. However, it was fortunate that the cultivation of many people present on the scene was extremely strong. In fact, they could resist the attacks by displaying their cultivation. Second uncle is too awesome. Not far away from Du Yunlong, the little Qilin was bouncing around with an elated look. That frightening sound wave struck his body, but was blocked by clusters of frightening thunderbolts, causing him to be completely unaffected. Silly child. Hurry up and leave. Little Xing Xing was a mischievous kid. After cursing, he picked up Du Xiaolin's tail and held him upside down. At the same time, he flew away with Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang. Although under their resistance, they didn't have to worry about being injured by the majesty of the hallowed bell. However, little Xing Xing understood that the most powerful thing was still to come. In this foggy space, everyone was bound to face more people from the devil religion. They might even have to face the devil god. They couldn't consume too much of their strength here. They had to preserve as much of their strength as possible. He's actually so strong. On the opposite side of Du Yunlong, the people from the devil religion were trembling. They were even more frightened. This kind of fear was not only because of Du Yunlong's strength, but also because there were more than 100 experts watching covetously from the periphery. In particular, the existence of Du Xiaofu made him feel even more pressured. Even if his strength could defeat Du Yunlong, he was afraid that he still couldn't escape from Du Xiaofu's pursuit. Hallowed bell, go! Du Yunlong stood in the air and shouted softly. As he waved his hand, the hallowed bell above his head buzzed and flew out. The seemingly huge and cumbersome bell was extremely fast. In a flash, it had already arrived at the position of the people from the devil religion. Rumble. The hallowed bell carried a vast and heavy intent. As it passed through, it pressed down on the void until it rumbled. It was as if it was about to collapse and was on the verge of collapsing at any time. Under such a scene, the people from the devil religion immediately narrowed their eyes. They forcefully raised the devil chi in their body and stabilized the trembling of their primordial spirit. After that, a wisp of unswerving determination appeared in his eyes. He didn't think any further and directly gestured with his hand. An object flew out from within his body and collided with the desolation hallowed bell that was descending from above. As soon as this object appeared, the aura in the space suddenly changed. A boundless and vast pressure rolled down, as if a supreme and powerful cultivator had descended here. It also carried an ancient and majestic aura. It was actually not much weaker than the hallowed bell. When Du Xiaofu, who was standing in the distance, saw this scene, his eyes suddenly trembled and his pupils suddenly shrank. This was because he was too familiar with that object. Earlier, there were several similar objects that were in his hands, but they were taken away by the devil religion. That was the purple lightning profound cauldron, an object left behind by the Lord of the 3,000 boundless worlds. Rumor had it that whoever could control the purple lightning profound cauldron would have the greatest hope of solving the great calamity brought by the demon god. Therefore, Du Xiaofu had always wanted to take it back from the devil religion and control all 9 divine thunder cauldrons. Only with the 9 cauldrons in hand could he completely command the 9 families. I've worn out iron shoes in vain, only to find it without any effort. Looking at the purple lightning profound cauldron, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He knew that the 9 divine thunder cauldrons were with the devil religion, but he wasn't sure who had them. Moksha and Imo Lingzi should have the divine thunder cauldrons with them. As for the whereabouts of the other cauldrons, he wasn't sure. Perhaps they were with the 9 great demon emperors. However, when he killed the 3 demon emperors, the purple lightning profound cauldron didn't appear. Now that he had encountered one here, he had to regain control of it. As for the remaining cauldrons, he had to obtain them step by step. The great calamity was approaching, and it could even be said that it had already begun. Among the 9 families, there were still the legalism, school of famous names, and school of vertical and horizontal. They had ulterior motives and were trying to stir up trouble in the great calamity. Even the Eastern deity, Western demon, Southern Ru, Northern addict, and divine ability couldn't suppress them. Du Xiaofu and little Xing Xing, even the arrogant and rampant dragon race was suppressed by them. How could they allow some people from the 9 great clans to cause trouble in the great calamity? A variable in the void realm. On this side, Du Xiaofu was thinking in his heart, but his eyes were looking at the other side. The incomparably huge hallowed bell had already collapsed and landed on the head of the devil religion's man. That unparalleled treasure seemed to carry a power that was even more vast and heavy than the world, and it directly shattered the space. Below, the purple lightning profound cauldron also emitted a vast pressure. Waves of purple-gold profound lightning surged out and swept towards the hallowed bell. However, this person from the devil religion wasn't able to fully control the purple lightning profound cauldron. The power it displayed was far less powerful than when it was in Du Xiaofu's hands. However, this was an existence that surpassed a divine artifact. Like the hallowed bell, it was also a treasure left behind by the master of the 3,000 great worlds. It was extraordinary. Even if it was under the control of this person from the devil religion and could not defeat the hallowed bell, it was still able to slightly block its power, so that the pressure he had to bear was not too great, to the point that he couldn't bear it. On the hallowed bell, a vast power fluctuated, and the purple lightning profound cauldron also erupted with a destructive aura to resist it. When the two collided, a huge wave of energy immediately spread out in this area. Terrifying energy spread out wantonly, crazily rolling and crushing everything in its way. The figures of the two people who were fighting were also submerged in it. Let's go. In the midst of this, the eyes of this person from the devil religion changed, and he looked at the purple lightning profound cauldron with extreme reluctance. However, this reluctance only lingered for a moment before it disappeared from his eyes. Immediately after, the devil chi on his body surged and covered his entire body, and a vast power burst out, driving him to quickly escape into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he had traveled dozens of miles and reached the edge of the fog. When Lord Demon God recovers, all of you will die, and the purple lightning profound cauldron will be stored with you. But in the end, it will still return to my hands. Finally, he glanced behind him and reluctantly looked at the purple lightning profound cauldron that was fighting against the hallowed bell. This person from the devil religion thought to himself, as long as he could enter this fog and get rid of Du Xiaofu and the others' pursuit, he would not hesitate to lose a divine thunder cauldron to save his life. Nothing was more important than his own life. Slowly retracting his gaze, this person from the devil religion urged the devil chi in his body with all his strength, and his speed could not help but increase by a few degrees. This was because he saw that Du Yunlong had also reacted, and his figure moved through the air and chased after him. Moreover, the hallowed bell also moved through the air, carrying a terrifying power as it chased closely after him. Bastard of the Du family, I'm not going to play with you anymore. This person from the devil religion spat and cursed. Then, with a flash of his figure, he dived into the fog. However, his speed did not decrease, and he continued to escape into the distance. Along the way, he even changed directions several times to avoid Du Yunlong's pursuit. After a long time, this person from the devil religion finally slowed down, and he spat out a mouthful of turbid air, but his mind felt very carefree. He had already traversed no less than 10,000 miles in the fog, and he did not walk in a straight line. Du Yunlong had been successfully shaken off by him, and he did not catch up with his footsteps at all. In this fog, no one would be able to find his whereabouts. He couldn't help but feel like he had escaped from the heavens. One had to know that he had made a detour in front of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. At this moment, he was still alive and kicking. It had to be said that this was a kind of luck. Hee. Luck is also a part of one's strength. What can Du Xiaofu do? He will still be lost in this space, and he can't do anything to me. This person from the devil religion laughed heartily, and a sense of pride crept up from the bottom of his heart. It's a pity that I lost the purple thunder profound cauldron. I wonder if the Demon King will punish me when he finds out. Thinking of the divine thunder cauldron, he could not help but feel his heart ache again. As a person from the devil religion, and to be given such a powerful weapon like the purple thunder profound cauldron, of course, he knew how important it was to Du Xiaofu. This time, he had lost it, and it had fallen into the hands of Du Xiaofu. Not to mention the 9 demon kings. Even the demon god would not be willing to see such a thing happen. Just thinking about the punishment methods of the demon emperor was enough to send chills down one's spine. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. One moment, he was carefree. The next moment, he was proud. And the next moment, he was worried. However, just as he was still immersed in various emotions, he suddenly heard a voice ringing in his ears. Don't worry, I have personally delivered the purple thunder profound cauldron to you. This was a man's voice. It was unusually soft, and it was extremely gentle, like a spring breeze. The content of his words should be able to make people feel happy. However, this demon sect member's heart sank at this moment. He suddenly felt a sense of despair, as if he was about to die. This was because a purple gold light had appeared in front of him. This purple gold light quickly condensed into a figure, and it was Du Xiaofu. How can this be? He found it hard to believe that Du Xiaofu had actually caught up with him in this foggy space after he had fled so far away. If it was someone else, he would still have a chance to escape again. However, since Du Xiaofu had personally taken action, he was afraid that he would really lose the chance to escape. It should be known that he was facing a half-step, heavenly sage powerhouse. In this world, besides the demon god, who else could be his opponent? Run. This person from the devil religion did not have time to think. He turned around and wanted to escape to another place. Even though he was facing Du Xiaofu, he was terrified and desperate, but he could not sit still and wait for his death. He did not believe that Du Xiaofu would return the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron to him. This kind of nonsense was too fake to fool a 3-year-old child. Why are you running? I have already brought the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron to you. Take it. Just as he was about to move, Du Xiaofu's voice rang in his ears again. The purple-robed young man bent his fingers slightly, and a strange wave spread out as if he was receiving something. Then, this person from the devil religion saw that the fog behind him suddenly parted to both sides, revealing a long passage. In the passage, there was a purple-gold shadow with a long tail. It whistled and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. The Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. This person from the devil religion exclaimed. He immediately turned around and tried to escape. However, the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron's speed was too fast. Just as he thought about it, it had already slammed into his chest. On the cauldron, purple gold lightning poured out. It moved wantonly and fluctuated with a terrifying power. At the same time, the Divine Thunder Cauldron was also a heavy weapon. Under its extreme speed, it had the unparalleled power to crush everything. Once it came into contact with the body of this person from the devil religion, it was as if it was crushing the air. It was not obstructed at all and rushed straight through. However, his body immediately exploded into a cloud of blood mist with a bang. He died without leaving a trace. Dong! Du Xiaofu stretched out his 5 fingers and grabbed the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron that was speeding forward. After a buzzing sound, it suddenly stopped. Then, purple gold lightning flashed and the Divine Thunder Cauldron disappeared from his palm. Thank you. Du Xiaofu smiled and said softly to the void. He expressed his gratitude to the person from the devil religion who had his body and soul destroyed and sent the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. In fact, when the other party was fighting with his second brother, Du Yunlong, and then looking for a chance to escape, Du Xiaofu had the opportunity to stop him directly. With Fu Yao's first form's property of ignoring spatial barriers, how could he have run such a long distance? However, because he could borrow the power of the divine soul in the cosmos bag, no matter how the other party escaped, he could not escape from his prying eyes. In Du Xiaofu's eyes, the way he changed his trajectory time and time again was so laughable. Du Xiaofu was not in a hurry to chase after him. Instead, he first refined the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron and regained control of it. For him, this was the most important thing. The restriction placed on the Divine Thunder Cauldron by the people from the devil religion was completely negligible to the current Du Xiaofu. Soon, he had complete control of it. Then, after calling out to Du Yunlong, Du Tingxian and the others, he came here. No matter what, there was no reason not to get rid of the people from the devil religion. Therefore, no matter how far the other party ran, only death awaited him. Xiaofu, father, Rock Emperor. Not long after, the group of over 100 people arrived in a grandiose manner. They passed through the layers of fog and appeared beside Du Xiaofu. Because Du Xiaofu had given them directions before he left, they were able to find him in the fog without a hitch. Those whose primordial spirits were shaken, take some elixirs and adjust your breathing. Du Xiaofu took out a lot of elixirs from his cosmos bag and handed them to Desolation Bao, Su Yangzi, Gu Xinyan, Yu Zheng Tongxian, Xiao Gu, Ji Qianyue, and the others. Previously, under the suppression of Du Yunlong's Desolation Holy Bell, these people who were relatively weaker had been injured to a certain extent. Although it did not affect their strength too much, no one knew what kind of situation they would face next. Only by being able to maintain their peak fighting state could they better deal with possible changes. Du Xiaofu was not stingy about this. Thank you, Rock Emperor. Thank you, Human Emperor. No one was courteous to Du Xiaofu. One by one, they took the elixirs and swallowed them. Then, without further delay, they resumed their journey. They traversed through the foggy space and continued to search for the experts of the 3 continents and the 9 continents, as well as the members of the demonic sect. Chapter 26-27. Time passed slowly without anyone noticing. It had been about 3 months since Du Xiaofu entered the foggy space. More than a month had passed since he started to gather with the help of the divine soul power in the cosmos bag. During this period, more people were constantly found by him and gathered together, expanding the team to 240 people. Among them, the old human emperor from the ancient wilderness continent, Feng Wanran from the Feng family, Elder Xie from the Beast Alliance, and others were all here. At the same time, the number of devil religion followers who died in their hands was close to 200. In addition to those who were killed by Du Xiaofu before entering the space portal, there were already close to 400 people who died. This made everyone on Du Xiaofu's side very excited. Those who could enter this place all had the strength of the Sage Realm and above. The death of so many people from the devil religion was definitely a severe blow to their overall strength. The strength they brought to the demon realm, including the 9 great devil emperors, Moksha, Mo Lingzi, and others, was only about 500 Sage Realm experts. In other words, there were only about 100 people from the devil religion left in this foggy space. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's side almost didn't suffer any losses. Of course, there might be people who encountered people from the devil religion in the foggy space and were killed without anyone knowing. However, in comparison, the majority of their strength had been preserved. As they dealt with more situations in the future, their confidence was naturally more and more. I really hope that it will continue like this. In this foggy space, we will kill all the people from the devil religion and pull out the claws of the demon god. In the end, he will be the only one left. Then, we can concentrate all our strength to deal with the demon god alone. Du Xiaoyao laughed and couldn't wait to let the demon god become a general without an army in this strange world. In fact, everyone had this idea in their hearts. No matter what, the demon god was the biggest enemy of all the creatures in this world. In comparison, the rest of the devil religion was not that important. Gathering everyone's strength to fight against it, it was hard to say who would win or lose. Once the demon god obtained the item to recover, it would be an absolute disaster for this realm. Du Xiaofu was the one who felt this the most, because when he was in the tomb of the heavenly Tao, he had once returned to the upper reaches of the river of time and witnessed the great battle that occurred during the primeval times. He had a deep understanding of the terror of the fiend celestial. Even the lord of the 3,000 greater worlds and the dragon god couldn't kill him, and they could even suppress him. It could be said that as long as the demon god did not die and even recover to his peak state, even if there was no one under his command that could be used, he would still be able to plunge this world into misery and suffering. Only by completely eliminating the demon god could they reverse the situation. Every member of the devil religion we kill is one less. When the war truly begins, it can also reduce the losses that we will suffer. Du Tingxian said with a wine pot in his hand. It's just that we don't know how much strength the devil religion has in the outside world. Although we've eliminated many of their stage forces this time, if the base number is too large, it's still not optimistic. Huolei Laozu said with a worried tone. He knew better than anyone how terrifying the demon god was, and the strength of the devil religion should not be limited to what they had displayed here. What's the point of thinking so much? Just do it with all your heart and do it with no regrets. Du Xiaofu said with a serious expression. The Rock Emperor is right. Do it with all your heart and do it with all your strength. We can't care so much about other things. It's just a matter of blocking soldiers with arms and water with earth. Old Man Deepai from the farmer's family added, and kept nodding. The Rock Emperor's words make sense. The rest of the people also nodded their heads in agreement. The demon god's recovery was probably already a situation that could not be stopped. The only thing they could do was try their best to stall for time, so that the many living beings in this realm could improve their cultivation and buy some time. If everything went well, they would still have a chance to fight the demon god to the end. Don't think so much. I just want to find a few more devil religion bastards to kill. Du Xiaoyao's eyes emitted a golden light, revealing a murderous glint. Everyone agreed and didn't say anything more. Under Du Xiaofu's lead, they continued to wander around the foggy space, searching for the experts from the 3 continents, the 9 continents, and the other worlds, as well as the people from the demonic cult. However, just when everyone thought that the foggy space would exist for a long time, an unforeseen event suddenly happened. One day, more than 200 people who were moving forward stopped in their tracks. In their senses, some subtle changes seemed to have occurred in the foggy space. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While everyone was stunned, they heard a wave of vibrations. It sounded like the sound of flowing water, clear and empty. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately after, there was the sound of the wind, followed by a gust of demonic wind that swept across the area. What happened? Someone exclaimed in shock. They had been in the foggy space for a long time without any movement, and this was the first time such a situation had happened. No one knew what would happen next, and this sudden movement made them feel uneasy. The fog is surging and being blown away by the demonic wind. Soon, everyone realized that the fog that was everywhere around them, which was originally motionless, suddenly started to move in a certain direction as if it was being blown by a hurricane. Primordial spirit power. My primordial spirit power can be released. It didn't take long for someone to shout again. In such a surprise, many people probed with their primordial spirit power, and they really found that the fog could no longer stop them from prying. Moreover, as the strange wind blew, the fog kept surging, and the distance that their primordial spirit power could detect was getting farther and farther. This change was not rapid and violent, but it was happening continuously, and many people could not help but feel excited. They had been trapped in this place for a long time, and their primordial spirit power and their naked eyes could not detect more than 10 feet away from them. After such a long time, they felt like they were going crazy. Suddenly, the fog was surging, and their primordial spirit power could be released, which was extremely surprising. Xiaofu, what do you think of this? Du Tingxian did not feel too happy, but his face was a little solemn. He put the flagon in his hand back into his cosmos bag, took a step forward, and asked Du Xiaofu. At the same time, his gaze swept across Huolei Laozu, Zhen Qingchun, Bailuan Bingchen, and the others. Obviously, he was asking for their thoughts. The foggy space that has been quiet for so long suddenly has such a change. It is definitely not an accident. The old man emperor of the human race temple said solemnly, and then turned his gaze to Elder Jiao Xia of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, Tiger Desolate ancestor of the Dark Heavenly Tiger Clan, and Howling Moon ancestor of the Howling Heavenly Lion Clan. I don't dare to imagine it now. I'm afraid the truth is more terrifying than we estimated. Tiger Desolate ancestor sighed and said softly. When the people beside him heard this, their expressions also darkened. Obviously, everyone was thinking of the same thing. If all of this is as expected, it should be related to the demon god. Sacred Array Child Jin Qingchun said. His face had a strange charm, and there was an extremely serious expression on it. His words were very straightforward. Some of the people who were feeling happy because of the change in the primordial spirit power suddenly could not laugh anymore. Each and every one of them had a straight face, indicating that they were worried. The people present were all above the sage realm. Whether it was in terms of strength or state of mind, none of them were weak. Soon, they figured out the crux of the matter. If it was related to the demon god, then it was related to the recovery item that he needed. For the creatures in this world, this was a matter of life and death for everyone. Although the fog is dissipating, it will still affect us after all. The primordial spirit power has not reached its peak state, so it can't pry into too much valuable information. As for the location of the demon god, We can't find out at the moment, so we can't go and see what happened. Du Xiaofu finally spoke. As soon as he opened his mouth, everyone listened attentively, wanting to know what he was thinking at this time. He continued, "But no matter what, this space has begun to change. We still have many people who are alone. At the same time, there are many experts left in the devil religion. Since the primordial spirit power can be released to investigate, then next, we will act separately. This way, we can find the rest of the people faster and gather everyone together." Rock Emperor, what should we do? Just tell us. That's right. Just tell us what to do, Rock Emperor. Rock Emperor, give us the order, and we will definitely complete the task. Suddenly, many experts spoke loudly to Du Xiaofu. Xiaofu, just tell us what we should do. As Zhang Qingchun spoke, he had already grasped the 6 wheels blood-killing array in his hand, and his body exploded with a strong murderous intent. Obviously, he had been holding back for a long time and could not wait to start a massacre. Du Xiaofu nodded slightly. He wasn't polite with everyone. So, he directly announced in a loud voice, "We'll break up into several groups. Each group will have 10 people. However, each group must be led by at least one expert of the Sage Perfection realm or above. This way, even if we encounter several demon emperors, we will not be in too much danger. After we find our own people, if the time is right and 2 groups encounter each other, we will gather together. If we encounter people from the devil religion, kill them all. Don't let any of them go." "No problem. It's settled." "Good. We will follow the orders of the Rock Emperor." Many experts cupped their fists and spoke in a deep voice. Their voices were filled with a strong fighting spirit. "Father, I will lead a group." Little Xingxing's small body flew out and said to Du Xiaofu, "Father, I can lead a group with Little Ba." Du Xiaohuang looked up at Du Xiaofu and said crisply, "Brother, I can lead a group too." "Xiaofu, I will lead a group." "Rock Emperor, I can lead a group too." In the blink of an eye, many experts stepped forward. Little Xingxing, Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoqing, the old human emperor, Bing Luan, Bing Chen, Jin Qingchun, Lei Tianhuang, Tiger Wilderness Patriarch, Hunji, Du Tingxian, Little Tiger Du, Elder Xie, and many others stepped forward. They were all above the Great Perfection Saint realm. At this time, no one knew where the demon god was. In a situation where they led 10 people, even if they encountered the demon emperor, they had the ability to fight. Good. Du Xiaofu nodded, and then arranged for everyone to start grouping. In this, everyone was very self-aware. They chose the most suitable group according to their own strength, so that the overall strength of each group was relatively balanced. In this way, more than 20 groups were divided, and each group was led by a Great Perfection Saint Realm expert. "Xiaofu, are you going to act alone?" After the grouping was completed, Du Tingxian frowned and asked. This was because Du Xiaofu didn't say which group he would join among the 20 or so groups. "I will go with the Patriarch. Nothing will happen. Drunkard father, you don't have to worry about us." Du Xiaofu gave his father a comforting smile. He looked at Huole Laozu beside him and said, "I believe that the situation here will become clearer soon. At that time, we will meet again. Then, be careful." Du Tingxian reminded after thinking for a moment. As a father, how could he not understand his son's thoughts? This kid wanted to go and find the demon god by himself. However, even though he understood, Du Tingxian did not say it out loud. After all, there were many things that were difficult and dangerous, but someone had to do it. "I know. Everyone must be careful too." Du Xiaofu nodded deeply and swept his gaze across the more than 200 people present. In his heart, he hoped that they would not encounter any major variables. "Boss, I think I should go with you." Du Xiaoyao suddenly came out and said to Du Xiaofu. He quickly understood what his boss was thinking, and he was a little uneasy. "Don't worry, it will be fine," Du Xiaofu said. But Du Xiaoyao wanted to say something but was stopped by Du Xiaofu's stern words. Looking at his eyes, Du Xiaoyao finally gave up. "Rock Emperor, we will take our leave first. Human Emperor, you all go ahead first. Brother, take care of yourself. Father, you must be careful." Everyone cupped their fists at Du Xiaofu and left. In just a few breaths' time, only Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu were left. The two of them did not stay for long. After everyone left, they soared into the sky and disappeared. No one knew where they went. In the vast and boundless foggy space, the changes were still ongoing. Strange gusts of wind blew past, causing large patches of fog to surge and then disperse. During this process, although the living beings who entered this space were still greatly obstructed in their vision, it became easier for them to release their primordial spirit power. Furthermore, the vast oppressive might in the void was also gradually dissipating. Regardless of whether it was the experts from the 3 continents, Kyushu region, or the people from the devil religion, they all felt their bodies become lighter and lighter, and they returned to their normal state. Since the primordial spirit power was starting to be effective, many living beings activated their cultivation with all their might in an attempt to find their companions. After all, staying here alone for a long time really made one feel physically and mentally exhausted. If they could find their companions, they could not be happier. Little Xingxing, Du Xiaojing, Zhen Qingchun, Lei Tianhuang, Du Xiaoyao, and the others each led a group of experts to find their companions who were alone and slowly strengthen their teams. However, all of this was the beginning of a terrifying nightmare for the people from the devil religion. No, to be more precise, this was the end of a nightmare. This was because many people from the devil religion had already died at the hands of Du Xiaoyao and the others before the commotion in the fog. However, they died silently and were not known by outsiders. Right now, they were just clearing out the remaining people. The primordial spirit power of a perfect Saint Realm cultivator could cover a large area. As long as it came into contact with the primordial spirit power, nothing could hide. More than 20 teams whizzed through this space and swept through quickly. As long as they saw people from the devil religion, they directly crushed them without any mercy. However, there were also some powerful people from the devil religion who had discovered the danger early on and quickly fled. Among them, there were the 6th Demon Emperor, the 7th Demon Emperor, the 8th Demon Emperor, the 9th Demon Emperor, Moksha, Mo Lingzi, and the others. The 2nd Demon Emperor had also encountered a team led by Zhen Qingchun. Originally, with his strength, he could definitely fight with all his might and at least kill a few people and then leave. However, the commotion they caused soon attracted Little Xingxing and the others. Under Little Xingxing's current power, even the 2nd Demon Emperor had to flee at the sight of him. Kill. Destroy the devil religion. Kill. In this space, the creatures from the Kyushu realm of the 3 continents launched a terrifying battle against the devil religion. How did they get together? It's too scary. So many people can actually gather together. They are divided into many groups, as if they have been carefully arranged. There is no way to fight them. Let's flee quickly. When we have gathered enough strength, we don't have to be afraid of them. In 2s and 3s, the people from the devil religion were lucky enough to encounter each other while fleeing for their lives. However, the situation they were facing made them almost collapse. In their hearts, they hoped that they could meet up with the people on their side as soon as possible so that they could have the strength to fight. However, after fleeing for a long time, they did not encounter many people from the devil religion. Why? Why are there only so few people from the devil religion? Where did the others go? Why can't we meet up with them? Many people realized in despair that it was very difficult to meet the experts from the devil religion who had entered this space. After exhausting all their strength, they were only able to gather a handful of people. They could only be completely crushed. This made them all feel terrified and panicked. Chapter 26-28. In the foggy space, the fog was gradually blown away and became fainter and fainter. The scene between the heavens and the earth could finally be seen by everyone's eyes, and they could clearly see what was going on. Everyone found that this was an extremely strange space. The sky above their heads was completely shrouded in a haze. Under their feet was an endless pitch-black land that seemed to have been soaked in blood and then dried up. When all the fog disappeared, the world was filled with a thick, rotten stench. It was as if it had existed for an eternity, causing one to feel nauseous just by smelling it. However, not many people cared about such a scene, because at this moment, No one was in the mood to be idle. For all the creatures in this world, there was no better time than now to hunt down the people of the devil religion. They kept gathering their companions, each holding a saint artifact in their hands, and started a crazy hunt. At this moment, the people of the devil religion were running for their lives like stray dogs. Kill! Some creatures roared, their murderous auras surging. They were almost suffocated. The great calamity that the devil religion was about to cause had been pressing on their hearts like a mountain, making them feel even more pressured when they thought about it. In addition, in the foggy space, they had been lost for too long, and there was a lingering knot in their hearts that they could not get rid of. They needed to release it. Run. As long as we stay alive, I believe that it won't be long before the demonic god finds a way to save us. Finally, many people of the devil religion started to run in groups of 3 to 5. At the same time, the second demon emperor, the sixth demon emperor, the seventh demon emperor, the eighth demon emperor, and the ninth demon emperor gathered a strong force to search this vast space and found many people of the devil religion who were alone. Now, the only hope in their hearts was that the demonic god could take care of them earlier and save them. In this way, the two sides started a fierce chase in this space. On the other side, Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu were flying rapidly in the sky. Their goal was very clear, pointing in a certain direction. The reason for this was because there was a Qinquan bag floating in front of Du Xiaofu. It was also moving rapidly, emitting a hazy glow and appearing mysterious. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu and Li Wuyo followed the path of the cosmos sack. When there was some activity in the misty space, he also felt the spirit in the Qinquan bag give off an even more intense fluctuation, as if it wanted to break free from the Qinquan bag and head in a certain direction. Du Xiaofu immediately deduced that the god fiend was most likely there. However, Du Xiaofu didn't say it out loud to reassure his father and the others. Who exactly left behind the divine soul in this cosmos sack? Why is it acting so strangely in this area? Along the way, Huolei Laozu couldn't help but ask Du Xiaofu. I'm not too sure about the details, but it should be related to Tianwu Academy. Du Xiaofu shook his head and replied. When Tianwu Academy was facing a calamity, the Grand Elder of the Mystic I'll pass this item to him, saying that it was related to the rise of Tianwu Academy once more. Perhaps, even the Grand Elder himself didn't know what was inside. From the looks of it, the spirit in the cosmos sack might have been left behind by an ancestor of Tianwu Academy. Du Xiaofu was well aware that the strength of the Tianwu Academy in the immemorial era was extremely terrifying. In the battle with the devil religion, countless experts charged forth, bringing with them incomparably powerful strength to fight against the devil religion. They played a significant role in the eventual victory. However, it was in that battle that they lost too many experts, resulting in the decline of Tianwu Academy. In his generation, the devil religion plotted against the Tianwu Academy, resulting in its destruction. It was fortunate that Tianwu Academy was eventually rebuilt. Could it be that this spirit is? At this point, Du Xiaofu's eyebrows twitched. Getting. His heart skipped a beat, and a bold thought popped up in his mind. As a former student of Tianwu Academy, he knew that in the history of Tianwu Academy, there had only been a vice principal. There had never been a principal. When did this happen, and what was the motive behind it? No one knew, and no one dared to look into it. But without a doubt, when Tianwu Academy was first established, there was definitely a principal in the academy. And that person and the spirit in the cosmos sack, could it be? At this point, Du Xiaofu felt that this conjecture was logical. If that was the case, was that person still alive? For this place to cause the spirit in the cosmos sack to stir, how is it related to him? The direction that the cosmos sack is pointing to should be the location of the demonic god. Just as Du Xiaofu's thoughts were running wild, Huolei Laozu's voice sounded in his ears once more. Du Xiaofu nodded his head, but he didn't reply. There was only a grim expression on his face. Seeing this, Huolei Laozu fell silent as well. In his heart, he knew that the young man beside him was completely focused on the demon god. The appearance of the secret ground and the recovery of the demonic god signified the arrival of the calamity. As for him, there were still many things that he wasn't prepared for. He hadn't gathered all 36 spiritual lightning bolts, The 9 lightning god cauldrons were still in the hands of the devil religion. The 9 great clans didn't have a unified command, and his strength was still far from reaching the level where he could contend against the demonic god. Everything seemed so terrible. Sigh. Wulei Laozu let out a long sigh. When Du Xiaofu had just broken through to the half-step heavenly saint realm, the signs of the calamity had already appeared, and no one could stop it. The two of them didn't speak again. They just continued to travel through the air at an extremely fast speed, following the cosmos sack in front of them. In a flash, they had traversed tens of thousands of miles. At a certain moment, they didn't know how far they had flown. Suddenly, the cosmos sack in front of Du Xiaofu suddenly glowed brightly. Following that, the speed of the rapid movement suddenly increased. It's accelerating. Quickly follow it. Seeing this scene, Wulei Laozu couldn't help but exclaim. Then, his entire body was covered in lightning and fire as he chased after the cosmos sack. Du Xiaofu's speed was naturally not slow. He also followed closely behind the cosmos sack. Look ahead. After flying for a long time, Wulei Laozu suddenly shouted again. Such a rash appearance was completely inconsistent with his age, and he didn't have the slightest sense of calmness and experience. In fact, even without his reminder, Du Xiaofu also saw the scene in front of him. At the same time, he couldn't stay calm in his heart. Not far away, there was a ball of bright light. It was like a scorching sun hanging in midair, releasing a dazzling radiance. At a glance, it was impossible to see what kind of thing it was and what was inside it. Moreover, when the power of the primordial spirit extended into it, it was distorted and disintegrated, unable to pry into any useful information. Demon God. Du Xiaofu and Wulei Laozu both saw that in the strong light, there was an incomparably majestic figure imprinted on it. It was even taller than a mountain. Extremely dense demonic qi was emitting from its body. The dense demonic qi lingered in the air and transformed into a bloody and gloomy scene. This figure was no stranger to Wulei Laozu and Du Xiaofu. As for Du Xiaofu, he had even fought him head-on in the foggy space earlier. The Great Demon Emperor, the 4th Demon Emperor, and the 5th Demon Emperor are also here. The two of them discovered that not far from the burly figure of the demon god, the 3 Demon Emperors were also there. It was obvious that the demon god had brought the 3 of them here after meeting them. You are finally here. Just as Du Xiaofu and Wulei Laozu were sizing up all this, the demon god's extremely loud voice rang in their ears. The figure that seemed to be imprinted in the sun slowly turned around. A pair of huge eyes looked at Du Xiaofu and Wulei Laozu. Wherever the gaze passed, even the void was distorted and deformed, as if it was under intense pressure. Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled. The strength displayed by the demon god now seemed to be stronger than when they had fought earlier. He did not know why. Thank you for delivering this item. After the demon god turned around, he did not say much. Instead, he raised one hand and gently waved it at the void. Then, with a whoosh, the Chinquan bag in front of Du Xiaofu flew in the direction of the demon god. Oh no! He wants to snatch the Chinquan bag. Hurry up and stop him. Wulei Laozu was shocked. Without hesitation, he shot out a bolt of lightning and fire toward the Chinquan bag. Du Xiaofu was faster than him. Just as the Chinquan bag moved, he waved his hand and swept out a space law. A black hole instantly appeared in the space above the Chinquan bag's flight path and was about to swallow it. So the demon god was waiting here to snatch the Chinquan bag. The shock in Fire Thunder Ancestor's heart was extreme. How dare you play such a small trick in front of me? The demonic god snorted softly. Demonic aura surged from his body like a tidal wave and quickly swept towards the Chinquan bag. Then, the demonic qi rapidly changed and condensed into the shape of a huge hand. In an instant, it grabbed the Chinquan bag in its hand. Godbinding grip, heavenly thunder punishment, sword breaks 10,000 miles. Du Xiaofu did not have any time to think. He just used a series of techniques one after another. Waves of superpowers came down from the sky. The void was distorted and disintegrated. Thunder roared, and the sword radiance roared and attacked. All of them were aimed at the demon god and the Chinquan bag. Each and every one of these powerful attacks landed on the giant hand formed from demonic qi, shattering and annihilating it. Large amounts of demonic qi scattered in the void. However, what made Du Xiaofu despair was that no matter what he did, he could not really cut off the huge hand and stop the demon god from taking back the Qinkuan bag. Such a scene caused a strong feeling of powerlessness to arise in his heart. He could only watch helplessly as the huge hand retracted under the demon god's control. It pierced through all of his attacks and finally returned to the demon god's side. In the end, it turned into demonic qi and lingered around his body. Meanwhile, the demon god was holding the Qinkuan bag in his hand. "Thank you." The demon god thanked Du Xiaofu again. However, there wasn't the slightest bit of sincerity in his emotionless tone. "This is bad." Du Xiaofu cursed in his heart. Feelings of regret rose in his heart. It was only now that he truly understood that all of this seemed to be part of the demon god's plan. When he had broken through to the half-step heavenly saint stage, the demon god had not concealed his aura at all. He had moved with his momentum and headed straight for the demon realm. He did not seem to be afraid that the living beings in the outside world would find out. His purpose was to lure him here and obtain the Qinkuan bag. Based on the strength that he had displayed earlier, the other party had definitely concealed quite a bit of his strength when they had exchanged blows in the misty space. He had not truly used his full strength to deal with Lin Dong. It was likely that he was afraid that the Qinkuan bag was no longer with Lin Dong, causing him to make a wasted trip. All of this was a trap set up by the demon god for the sake of obtaining the Qinkuan bag. Needless to say, the divine spirit inside must have a strong connection with the item that he needed to restore his strength. After figuring this out, Du Xiaofu felt extremely vexed. If he had known all of this earlier, he would not have been so easily used by the demon god. "I know that in the misty space, many people from my devil religion had died at your hands. However, this is not enough to shake the foundation of my devil religion." The demon god suddenly spoke again. His tone was flat, but his loud voice was so loud that it made one's eardrums buzz. Under the gaze of Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu, the demon god held the Qinkuan bag in his hand. Suddenly, a violent fluctuation emerged from his body. Within this fluctuation, there were bursts of strange power that quickly spread in all directions. There was no hole that could not be penetrated. Not long after, Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu both felt a strange movement coming from behind them. They could not help but turn around to look. In their eyes, from afar, there was a cloud of blood fog rapidly approaching. This blood fog floated in the air, mixed with pitch-black demon qi. Soon, it flew over the heads of Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu and arrived in front of the demon god. It continued to gather, growing larger and larger. In the end, it condensed into a demon cloud with black and red light intertwined. "Children of the devil religion, return." The demon god spoke softly again, and the strange power emitted from his body became even more vast. This strange power spread towards the far end of this space. In an instant, it covered every corner of this space. In a place far away from Du Xiaofu and the others, little Xingxing, Du Xiaojing, Jin Qingchun, Lei Tianhuang, Du Xiaoyao, and hundreds of other experts were chasing after the remnants of the devil religion. "You won't be able to escape. Surrender." A creature shouted, and one attack after another struck forward. The people of the devil religion were all terrified and uneasy as they fled for their lives. However, at a certain moment, a strange force suddenly appeared in the space and enveloped everyone within it. Then, under the gazes of little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, Du Tingxian, and other experts, the figures of the people of the devil religion who were covering their heads and fleeing in front of them suddenly flashed, and then they inexplicably disappeared. "What's going on? Why did they suddenly disappear?" Someone exclaimed. They were in the midst of chasing after the people of the devil religion, but they suddenly lost track of the people of the devil religion. It was too strange. Is there a need to guess? This must be the demon god's doing. Du Xiaoyao looked at the distant, boundless void, and two strong golden lights emitted from her eyes, as if her gaze could penetrate the layers of space. "That's right. It's very likely that the demon god has found the recovery item." Little Xingxing nodded, indicating that he agreed with Du Xiaoyao's guess. Then, will my father and the ancestor be in danger? Du Xiaohuang answered, her bright big eyes filled with worry. Quick, follow the direction of this strange power and meet up with Uncle Xiaofu. Du Xiaoba's seemingly young but strong body erupted with unparalleled power, and he quickly tore through the void and followed the path of the demon god's power. Let's go. Let's go find Xiaofu. Quick, let's go help the Rock Emperor. One figure after another traversed the void and moved rapidly. Everyone knew that if the demon god had found the recovery item, then Du Xiaofu, who had gone to find him, would be in great danger. Hundreds of Sage Realm experts moved with all their might in the direction of the demon god. At the same time, where the demon god was, Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu were both shocked. Under the strange power of the demon god, hundreds of clouds of blood mist had gathered around him and merged with the demon cloud. Then, the two of them saw figures flying out of the void near the demon god and arriving at the side of the three demon emperors. Greetings, Lord Demon God. Greetings, Lord Demon Emperor. Greetings, Lord Demon God. Greetings, Lord Demon Emperor. These figures were still in a state of shock. However, when they saw the demon god and the demon emperors, they were overjoyed and bowed respectfully. In the end, there were no less than 50 to 60 people gathered. These people were all from the devil sect who had managed to escape from the foggy space while being hunted down by everyone. Other than the three demon emperors who had been killed by Du Xiaofu, the other demon emperors were also among them. How can the devil religion fight without anyone? The demon god said softly. Then, he waved his hand, and the demon cloud beside him started to move. The demonic cloud changed rapidly, splitting off into long streams of mist. Like tentacles, they entered the bodies of the 50 to 60 people. Then, Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu sensed that the auras of these people were rising rapidly. In just the blink of an eye, the auras of those initial Sage Realm experts rose to the later Sage Realm. The cultivation of the late stage of the Sage Realm had instantly broken through a barrier and had entered the Sage Accomplished Realm. The auras of the 8 demon emperors were also rising. Each of them became extremely terrifying. Such a scene made Du Xiaofu and Huolei Laozu shudder with fear. The demon god's means were too terrifying.